The fuck is this?
Need a green
More
screen.
terrifying.
All right.
Yeah, you get a green screen literally just for this.
What is that in the background?
Who's on a
It's-
submarine?
It's that is
Oh,
Alyssa's
it's
glucose
that.
monitor.
Oh,
Come-
I've never
come-
heard it so clearly.
Really? It's
Yeah.
weird. It's 2 rooms away.
Living
Should
in
stop soon.
the Hunt for Red October over there. No? Okay.
It's a submarine movie with Sean Connery. I don't know.
Yes, it's a great film.
It is.
So
And a
are
pretty
you,
good book. The film's better than the book. The book is really boring.
You're talking about Wilson, Pat?
Yeah, and I'll talk about the Bleeding Edge beta a bit too. I played some
Okay.
Grand Blue Fantasy. If anybody wants to talk about browser games, No?
Deafening. Deafening the response there.
yeah,
We're super psyched.
I've been playing the Bleach mobile gotcha game.
I can actually almost guarantee you that Grand Blue Fantasy is better than that.
You get to run around. It's a little actiony.
And that's not true of GBF at all. GBF is a visual novel until it like gets into combat, and then it's a JRPG.
How am I going to intro this?
The Sephiroth PS4 theme's fucking awful that you get for pre-ordering Final Fantasy VII.
I have never put a theme on my PS4 ever.
I think
Oh,
I'm
I have
using the
the,
Spider-Man one.
I
got
have
good
the
music.
anniversary PS4 theme that's the retro PS1 themed because I have the PS1.
That would be
controller.
cool. That would be cool.
It's really cool.
I've got that controller too, but I don't think I have that theme.
I used the flower
was
theme
a-
on my PS3, but I don't use themes on PS4.
Yeah, the gift was that was a gift from Fiona, which is why I still use that controller.
It's nostalgic. That's why I use it. All right,
it's a cool
everybody.
controller.
Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What the?
I think that was a small child.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a crying child.
I was gonna say there's no
Aw.
noise on my end.
That's a SoundCloud rapper. Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix, episode 108 on this February 15th, 2020. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite award show. I don't know.
Great.
I had something, I lost it. I am joined today, speaking of losing things, I'm joined today by Alex Galinas.
I lost the game. I don't know.
Oh God.
And, oh no. Also joining me, Pat Cotter.
Hello.
Also joining me, Sam Harrison.
Hello.
Yeah.
Also
Aw.
joining us, little baby Todd Howard.
Does Todd Howard want to take my spot this week?
Todd Howard wants to say hello too.
He just heard that Jeff Keighley will not be at E3, and he is
Oh,
beside
hey.
himself.
That's okay. We'll be there in like an hour.
Also joining us, Allison Saigan.
Hi. I don't
Hello.
have a baby to say hello to.
I'm baby. Okay, fine.
That's not that often. It's not that often we get a podcast title within the first like 5 minutes.
I want you to know that I say I'm baby all the time. So I understood that, and it's funny. And I would have laughed, but my microphone was muted.
I don't know what it's referencing. Okay. Anyways,
I'm baby.
Just
I'm assuming there's a
Well,
tweet.
actually, speaking of podcast names that we get in the first 5 minutes, we're just gonna jump right into it. The Herald and Modcast is back this week with the hottest updates on Herald and Mod.
Yeah.
Allison, what have you learned?
I actually watched Harold and Maude last night. It was pretty good. It was not bad. It was so kind of a stereotypical kind of indie movie, like kind of a black comedy movie that I feel like this is a very prototypical movie for that kind of genre. It feels very it's very it feels very modern. I feel like if this movie hadn't come out in the early 70s, that there would have been a that something with the same premise would have come out in the early 2000s maybe. But it was solid. At first I was not sure that if there would be like a romantic relationship, because they at first I'm like, oh, is it just that they're like friends and they're bonding? But then it's
like a Martin
extremely clear
McFly
later.
and Doc Brown situation.
But then that is extremely later. That is extremely clear later on that they had sex. So you're like, all right, this is romantic. But it was
extremely clear.
Oh, well, I mean, they're,
Do they show it?
Oh, God, no. Well, they, they're both in the same bed, and clearly they're not wearing clothes. So you're like, I see.
It's the European way.
It's true. But it's actually, but it was a solid movie. There are certain elements that I don't think have necessarily aged particularly well. Basically, the premise is that Harold himself is basically obsessed with death to the point where he fakes suicides a lot, which is a little bit weird. And I don't know if that necessarily be like great nowadays, but then he meets Maud, who's very like vivacious and very full of life. So it's kind of, he's young and he's obsessed with death, where she's young and full of life, and kind of it's kind of like, that whole, the kind of the indie movie, he learns to be more full of life because of her type thing. But yeah,
And then she dies because she's old.
She definitely
she's that old.
She turns 80, and she
God,
does
what?
Yeah, no, she turns 80 in the movie. And then she does die. Spoilers.
Oh, dang. Okay. I didn't realize she was that old. Wow.
Yeah, no, she's like 80.
You said she steals the cop's motorcycle in this movie?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the fucking thing. The whole thing is that the whole thing is that she's like a free spirit. And so you're like, okay, she's like doing her own thing. Her house is elaborately weird. It's like, kind of quirky, but one of her like quirks is that she just steals cars all the time. Like all the time she's like driving a car, and it's like, I don't know whose car this is. And at one point, she is in a car chase with a cop who's on a motorcycle, and the cop is like distracted. So she and Harold steal the motorcycle, and I'm like, I did not expect that there would be as much car theft in Harold and Maude as there ended up being.
Car theft and faked suicide.
Oh, there is like elaborate fake suicides too.
So it sounds like what the Hauser brothers needed if they wanted to make another GTA game was to watch some Harold and Maude to get all their inspiration for the next game.
They made The Warriors.
They made
a classic film.
They made Boys in the Hood. They made Scarface? I don't know. Was that one of them? Basically,
did they make a Boys in the Hood game?
I mean, San Andreas was like heavily inspired.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
It wasn't Boys in the Hood the game, but it was.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Max Payne 3 is basically Man on Fire.
Yeah.
So GTA 6 is basically going to be the two protagonists are a young man and an old woman, and it's going to be an elaborate reference to Harold and Maude.
It's going to be a lot more explicit, though.
With the boning?
God.
With
the hot tea mod.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
The hot tea mod. Get it? Get it?
I totally meant that for the pun in the first place.
So what I think I understand from this conversation, this is a film I'm not super familiar with. This isn't a Harold and Kumar sequel.
No, it's a prequel.
Yeah.
How do you think that Harold was born?
It's Harold Jr. and Kumar.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Or would it be Harold Sr.? And then Harold Jr. would be the one from White Castle.
Yeah, Harold Jr. and Kumar, and
Yeah.
Harold and Kumar
Jr.
go to White
Kumar.
Castle. Not aged well. Funny movie when it came out. Not aged well.
I remember
movie
they
is
ride
about
a
the-
tiger.
What about the Harold and Kumar Christmas movie or the Harold and
didn't see
Kumar
that.
Go to Guantanamo Bay movie?
Right.
I forgot that they did that. Yeah, now that I'm remembering that. Yeah, those were just offensive movies. Maybe it's not that it didn't age well and it was just bad at the time.
I remember they go to cross the street. There's no cars coming, and then they finally start to cross the street, and then a cop car comes up and's like, "You were jaywalking." That's all I remember. That and riding the tiger.
That's not a crime in the UK. You can just cross the road.
You can
cross
ride a tiger just anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Actually, I think tigers are illegal.
I have jaywalked directly in front of police cars in numerous American cities. Technically it's not allowed, but
I've definitely done that too, where you're like,
Generally, they probably have bigger fish to fry.
well, it's one of those crimes that, like, if you're a minority and you do that, and it's a cop that
Right,
is
that's
a
the
racist
thing.
cop, then for sure.
Or
that's
if
not
they're
good.
down on their quota for the day,
Fair.
whatever.
Yeah.
but Pat and I are white, so we got that privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I should laugh.
I know.
Because you're
It's
right.
not funny.
It's just true.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long year for Americans, folks.
Well.
Oh my God, is it? Is it going to be a long year? It's only just begun. But yeah,
boy.
I find it very funny that like I was just thinking about what I was saying about Harold Bond, and I'm like, I was a film student. That was a very disjointed review, but it was cute. So, you know,
Would you
I
recommend
thought it was
in
a TV
2020?
show.
I don't know if I would recommend it to anybody on this cast. I'm trying to think of who
Who should watch this ever?
should. No, I mean it's a good movie. I just don't know if it would be who would be the best person. It's like I don't know, like if you guys like a Wes Anderson movie,
I do. I love Wes Anderson movies.
then I might see. Pat, you might want to watch it because I wonder if some of the general vibe of it kind of inspired him. And there is some, like, the cinematography is definitely not as Wes Anderson as Wes Anderson, if that makes sense. But some of it, I wonder if it kind of was inspired. Like, it kind of gave me like Rushmore vibes at times. If that, yeah.
Wes Anderson is a director similar to the Coen brothers in that they're like all extremely white and like maybe could stand to like work with more people of color in their day-to-day jobs. But for some reason, as an extremely white person, I tend to really enjoy Wes Anderson movies.
As an extremely white person, I also like Wes Anderson and I also like the Coen brothers. So I'm like, I get it. Yeah, but
I saw the Grand Budapest Hotel in like a art house theater in an extremely white part of Detroit.
Yeah, so
that's a good movie.
I've been
so
told.
yeah, if I think if you want to have like kind of, you know, a history of indie movies, then I definitely give it a shot. But yeah.
All right.
Anywho,
Well,
that was
I
our
thought it
Harold and
TV
Maude chat.
I thought it was a TV show for some reason, but what do I know?
It's a movie. It's like 90 minutes, so it's a brisk
Oh yeah, that's a
movie.
it's like
Good
it's an
VHS
episode
time.
of Game of Thrones. Just a little slightly longer, I guess. Anyway,
I miss brisker movies like that. I was
I
thinking
do
about
too.
going to see 1917 today, which I looked at and was surprised that it's actually not 3 hours long. I assumed it was,
I'd like to.
and I was
maybe.
really pleased to see that. I don't think I'm going to go see it today because the weather sucks. But
So I'll have
It's
another
price
movie
like an hour
review
40
for-
as well.
I will have another movie review for next week because I'm going to go see Sonic the Hedgehog on Monday, and that is I think a pretty brisk movie.
I've heard very good things about it.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I've heard it's pretty fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
I saw someone say it's better than Detective Pikachu, and I cannot abide.
I
can't believe
don't know
that.
how that's true because Detective Pikachu was great.
It was a
But I will
perfect
let you
movie.
know.
It was snubbed at the Oscars.
I heard
That whole event is a joke. I can't believe it. Fire everybody involved.
I heard Detective Pikachu was pretty okay.
It was good. It was very good.
It was a perfect film.
I don't know if I got that far, but I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu. But it's kind of amazing though that we've gone for video game movies from it generally being like, oh, they're all trash, to having Detective Pikachu and then Sonic the Hedgehog just all come out and be like, yeah, they're pretty good.
I wonder if
I think it's the people who came up playing those games and have like affinity for them getting more involved.
And also Uwe Boll stopping making movies.
Well,
yeah,
kind of to that effect. I wonder if part of it too is that Sonic and Detective Pikachu are kind of ostensibly family movies.
Mm-hmm.
And when a family movie is entertaining to people that are not children, they tend to get like pretty solid marks for that, which is deserved. Whereas like if you tried to make Hitman again into a movie, it would get compared to John Wick, and it wouldn't be as good as John Wick. So like it's like in some ways it almost seems like the bar is higher out of the gate for movies that are trying to be like serious adult movies or whatever.
If they captured, I haven't seen either Hitman movie, but if they captured the true essence of Hitman, like throwing cans of beans at people and like just the ridiculous costumes and stuff like that, if they captured that,
then it would be a Wes Anderson movie. Then it would be the Grand Budapest Hotel.
I want to see Wes Anderson's Hitman.
Oh, geez, yeah.
You should watch Grand Budapest Hotel. That's kind of the plot of that movie.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I guess we can march on with the movie talk because Alex hasn't played any games either.
Nope, not for like a solid 2 weeks.
And the only game I've been playing is one that I've talked about extensively, so I don't know how much I'm actually.
Yeah, and I've talked about it too. So
yeah,
like I've played a bit of Temtem, but you forgot, Sam.
Yeah, I was saying I forgot to put Birds of Prey on the list because I haven't been on the pod since I've seen it.
Oh. Is it good?
Good movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually would highly rate it. For people who are sick of superhero movies, it's probably the one for you.
I want to go see it. I just wasn't able to go this week.
I'm seeing it on Monday as well.
I'm seeing it on Tuesday, actually.
I might try. I probably won't see it Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see.
Tuesday's the cheap movie night here.
But it is.
Should we save the chat for next weekend when all three of us have seen it?
Yeah, sure.
I can't. We can. I don't know that I'll actually get to it. I'm hoping to. But if Alex is definitely going to go, then we can.
Well, if you want to give your quick thoughts about it, then that's.
I would just say the action is really, really, really good. It's the stunt coordinator is the one from John Wick, and you can tell. There's a lot of scenes where, especially Harley, who is like the most kinetic character, where I think there's a scene where she throws a baseball bat at the ground, it takes some guy out, and then she catches it, and like it's very like real, not unrealistic, obviously, but like real looking and like effortless. It's super smart. The action in and of itself, the story's pretty good. It's a bit Deadpool-y. But other than that, yeah, would highly recommend. Can't wait to see what you guys think of it next week.
They changed the name to Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, right?
It's Harley Quinn : Birds of Prey.
Yeah,
really? I didn't.
Well,
see
it's because it had the worst title in the history of film.
No, it's an amazing title.
Well, but
more titles should be that
people
long.
Are dumb. They can't handle titles that long.
I mean, but no one was calling it that. It was all just Birds of Prey, not Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn or whatever.
So all week since I saw it, I've been saying to people like, "Oh yeah, I saw Harley Quinn." No, I saw Birds of Prey, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "The new Harley Quinn film," and they're like, "Oh, okay." So basically, everyone is calling it Harley Quinn anyway. They might as well.
Nobody knows what a bird of prey is. Yeah. Okay.
It's eagle.
I'll see it when it goes to streaming, probably. But before Sam so rudely interrupted, I did throw to Alex to tell us about what he's been watching, reading, what I don't know what he's been doing.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of stuff. Again, not games. Played a bit of Temtem, but I don't think we need to talk more about that because it's Temtem, and we've talked about it like 3 or 4 times at this point. So yeah, been not very excited about any games in particular. So have been just watching a lot of movies and reading a lot of books. Last week we are actually. Did we talk about 1917 on the podcast yet? I think I wasn't there that week, so ended up seeing 1917. Thought it was a really interesting movie. I think the story was pretty terrible. Like the story is not what you're going to that movie for. Like you can watch the first 5 to 10 minutes and you'll probably be able to guess the rest of the movie and you'd be most of the way correct. So don't go in expecting to be like wowed by that, but I still recommend watching it quite a bit because like the cinematography is crazy good. I don't know if you guys aren't familiar with the movie, but do you want to know the main core mechanic of that movie?
With Saving Private Ryan, isn't it?
No.
In reverse. It's one guy going to like deliver a message. Right.
Yeah, but it's in the trailer.
But
yeah.
there's like a conceit to the movie beyond that.
Again, the story is fucking terrible. So don't even think about the story. Like the thing about it that's really cool is that the entire movie is a one shot. And
I said it.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The one way and the way they achieve it, like if you look at some behind the scenes kind of stuff, is actually really impressive.
Especially with like the visual effects. Yeah,
there's a lot
to
of CG.
hide the invisible cuts and everything.
Yeah, invisible cuts.
What won Best Visual Effects? Was it that movie?
No,
yeah, I think it was.
I don't think it was.
Whatever it was beat Avengers. So
it was Best Cinematography for sure. I think wasn't it The Irishman that won Best Visual Effects?
Maybe it was.
Which was also very impressive. But
I gotta watch that.
Oh, it's 1917.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, okay, it was.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, because I remember going like, "Holy shit!" It beat. That's what made me want to go see it, and not just wait for it. Was like, "Holy shit!" It beat Avengers. That's impressive because Endgame had some incredible visuals.
Yeah, there's multiple videos on YouTube that are people basically breaking down the visual effects nominees. And from what I understand, like on a visual effects standpoint, all of the nominees were genuinely impressive. But yeah, that there is a lot that goes on into that 1917 that's kind of invisible or that they wanted to make. Yeah,
it's things like in one of the scenes where the camera gets really far ahead of the character, and that's because there's actually a vehicle that they're in, like a car. And the visual effects, like there's hundreds of people running on screen. Those are all real people. There's explosions going off. Those are for the most part real explosions. But like the visual effects were things like cutting multiple takes together and it looking 100% seamless, and also like removing the tire tracks and removing the dirt from the car that's getting kicked up. And like it's stuff that's like, wait, how would you possibly do that and make it look like normal, especially with a camera that seems like kind of like handheld camera style in a lot of times. Like it's really interesting. So yeah, like worth seeing that movie. Definitely, despite it having a bad story, which says a lot for me because I usually love I go to movie for stories. But
yeah. I want to go see it. And you know that the cinematography is going to be great because it's Roger Deakins, who is wonderful and deserves all the awards.
Yeah, war movies are one of my favorite genres of movies, so I know I would enjoy it just from like you talk about it having a shitty story, and that's just kind of like war movies in general don't have the best story. So it's not surprising to me. I think like Dunkirk was an exception to that as the most recent good war movie that I watched. But generally like older war movies, it's not really about the story. It's more about the cinematography and the like visual effects and stuff. Yeah.
I did see another war movie though. That was this past week. And that was one Jojo Rabbit.
That's on my list probably to watch this weekend, hopefully. I don't know when, maybe tomorrow night.
So my friend who I saw it with, like we basically go to a weekly movie at this point, and she was not particularly interested in it, and she was like, "Oh God, this sounds stupid. Do we have to? Okay, fine, let's go see it. Fine."
Taika though.
Yeah, and then we came away. We came away, and she was blown away. She's like, she was like, "This is maybe one of my favorite movies now," and I think it was really good because it portrays some real heavy shit, but while being lighthearted and kind of like from that like childlike perspective of, I don't know, I'm not sure what other movies I could kind of put that way, like Moonrise Kingdom or something, where like you're like, oh, this is like a child's imagination that's kind of going, you're following that, and like he has kind of an innocent view of the world and doesn't understand all of the implications of everything that's going on. So like you kind of get that perspective, but also it's just really well done. And when they want to go away from, or when Taika wants to go away from comedy and into drama, like they do it really well. There's one scene in particular, Allison, I think, where they made that transition like immediately, and it was really powerful.
I think I know what you're talking about, but
it involves some shoes.
Yep.
Yeah, that scene was extremely good.
Yep. But yeah, no, I think that it's one of the things that I think it does personally really well is that it is a giant like tightrope act, this movie, because it's trying to make a movie, not only make a movie about World War II, which has been done before, not only trying to make a movie about focusing on characters who are literally Nazis, which is rough, but then also make it funny and make you care about JoJo. But I feel like it all, like, I personally think it worked out really well. Like, it's a giant, like, how do you do it and keep it tasteful, but also not, you know, laughing at tragedy, but also keeping that perspective of like the childlike perspective. And I think it does it really well.
Yeah. Like if you've ever seen the movie Life is Beautiful from the 90s, the Italian movie, it has a lot in common with that. I would say this one even executes on some of its ideas better than Life is Beautiful. And I think that movie is excellent. So
yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. So if you like that, I'm almost positive you would like this.
I'm confident. I am of the opinion that I think pretty much every movie, I have like a when it comes to like movies and games and albums and stuff, I have a different definition of perfect than is probably the dictionary definition, but I'm kind of the opinion that everything Taika makes is kind of perfect in its own way. Like it's from the perspective of like directing, it's always as good as that thing could be, you know, like he takes concepts as far as they could possibly go.
He's a legit genius.
Yes. So I am positive that I will greatly enjoy that movie. I had kind of been like trying to find a time to watch it. And then, cause initially my partner was like, I don't want to watch that. Cause I don't want to watch like I don't want to watch him play Hitler. And then she surprised me recently and was like, actually, I think I do want to see that because I think she heard some more stuff about it. So I do want to watch it, and I'll probably try to put it on tomorrow night.
It does not try to make you sympathize with Nazis in any way.
No, absolutely not.
At all.
Taika,
like the only person that makes you sympathize really is like JoJo and the children that are being indoctrinated.
Of course, which makes sense. That's kind of the point. The Taika pointed out that like, and I happen to know this, but he pointed out that people probably would have been less critical of him making that film if they knew that he was Jewish going into it. Because that's like where his desire to make that movie comes from, is the Jewish part of his heritage. So there's a series of scenes with Stephen Merchant in it that are just perfect. Mm-hmm. He was perfectly cast in his role as a Gestapo officer.
He's extremely good. Yeah.
I highly recommended.
I have like, I want to watch Ford versus Ferrari, which I heard is super boring, but I think I'll like it because I like race cars.
It's extreme. Well, I've heard it's good, but it's like dad movie.
Yeah, and I like dad movies.
I was just about to say war movies, car movies.
Totally. I get it from my dad because my dad loves war movies and car movies, so I grew up watching those kinds of things with him.
What if Taika Waititi made one of the next Fast and the Furious movies?
Oh my god!
Damn,
my
I'd
God.
be down for that. Speaking of perfect,
Shit.
I want to watch The Irishman. I want to watch Jojo Rabbit. I'll probably watch Joker at some point just because I'm curious.
Yeah, same.
I want to watch 1917. I finally watched Parasite this week, so
Yeah.
I'm not too interested in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or
No,
Marriage
same.
Story.
I could see Marriage Story. I like Adam Driver.
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, I really want to see Marriage Story.
I watched
I want to see
watched
Marriage
it.
Story, and also I've come away from this award season basically being in love with Greta Gerwig, and she's partners with Noah Baumbach, who made Marriage Story. So
I'm sure Marriage Story is good. I have seen divorce happen in real time and definitely don't need to watch a movie about it. So that's kind of more where I come from.
Yeah,
Is like
reasonable.
it's subject
No,
matter that I'm
that's-
just not
that's legit.
particularly interested in.
That's kind of why I've taken so long to wait on watching it, because I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'm in the right mind space for it.
Yeah.
Totally.
But largely, I would probably watch Little Women at some point too. I feel
It's
like
very good.
I know it's really good, and it's not a knock against it, as it's
No,
just a
I
story
got
that
you.
I've read the book multiple times
Yeah.
and seen like multiple movies about it. So it's one of those like it doesn't call to me in the way that a lot of the other ones do.
Yeah,
but I respect it a lot. I
If you've
respect
read the
Greta
book
Gerwig
multiple
immensely.
times, I would say it does interesting things with the content. It's not just like
That's good to know.
Yeah, and the way that the story's put together is unique to it. So
That's cool.
And I saw it and I thought it was good and I appreciated it, but I didn't like it. So I don't know if that says
I
anything.
like Saoirse Ronan a lot. So
Yeah, she's awesome.
And she's amazing in it.
Yeah.
But speaking of award seasons, this all culminated with watching the Oscars, which I wasn't expecting to do because I never watched them because they're so boring. But Allison was watching it and we kept chatting in our chat about it. And she was like, oh, this thing is happening and this thing is happening. I was like, okay, fine. I'll put it on. And it ended up being a really good show.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly so.
I thought it was genuinely a pretty solid show.
I definitely had gotten to the point where like after the like moonlight mistake and then after Green Book and all that stuff, I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm not giving them my eyeballs. This show sucks. But
it's
sounded
been
like
bad
this year
forever.
no, but like specific bad.
Oh yeah, I mean they yeah, it's been.
But it seems like this year they really did do a pretty good job in terms of like the movies that won and the show itself. So
Yeah. I am so mad though, because for the Moonlight thing, I actually went and saw that that particular Oscars. I was watching it at a restaurant, like at the bar, and they had the Oscars on, and so I sat and watched it. But I was getting tired and I was feeling a little bit like not great, so I decided to leave before the Best Picture because I'm like, oh, it's not going to be interesting now. Like, what more could happen? And then I missed that. And so I'm forever mad.
yeah, I just remember I was watching that one live and I was like so livid that they screwed that up. It's like, what the fuck?
Seems like if there's anything to screw up, that's not the one you want.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
regardless, this year's Oscars were interesting. I think there were some things about it I didn't like. Like, I thought that they spent more time making fun of themselves and the fact that there weren't that many black nominees more than actually doing anything about it, which was kind of like,
that's
it
their
was-
whole thing.
That's
that was like
liberalism.
but it was like kind of off-putting at some points.
Oh yes.
Well, you kind of wonder
yeah.
to what extent to like it's sometimes hard to tell too if it's like the presenters kind of, or the people who are they're actually saying, okay, I'm mad about this, or if it's the people who are writing for the Oscars being like, oh, we have to show that we get it, but we're still not going to nominate people. I don't know.
Like, yeah, it seemed like they were trying to make you laugh it off as an audience, being like, oh, haha, Yeah, we know, but these were really the best nominees, or something. But it just came across as really like disingenuous. But
Although,
Also making like jokes about the VFX like people for Cats
yeah,
when all those people got laid off after that movie was released
yeah,
and like that
Yeah.
studio shut down.
Yeah.
that was a bit. There was some.
also Cats is a perfect movie, so I don't know what they're making fun of.
It's
But
the perfect movie that made about 25% of its budget.
Perfect movie.
yeah, but like it'll make it up in cult movie screenings. I'm seeing a midnight screening of Cats in a few weeks.
And none
so-
of the people that worked on it will receive any kind of
No.
money for it.
Yeah.
But
Is this Sondheim who made Cats? I don't even know.
Julie Weber.
Okay.
I want
On
to
his
see
own.
Sondheim's Cats. Oh my god. That would be amazing to see Stephen Sondheim make Cats.
I'm gonna see
Yeah.
David Cronenberg's Cats.
oh my god, yes, that would be amazing. Or David Lynch. But anyways,
Yeah.
but like, and that's like the minor like problems I kind of had with the show, and I think the rest of it was really good, except for the Eminem thing, which made no sense. But apart from that, it was
That was so weird because you're like, wait, Eminem didn't do any of the original songs for this year? No.
Oh.
well,
Like
it was even before
the
that.
person Eminem. I thought you meant the candy.
No, the person.
Oh, right. He showed up after like his.
I love that you thought that he meant the
hiatus.
candy.
Like, I was like, why? What is candy?
Yeah, those,
Right.
those CGI M&Ms showed up on stage, but
I also love that like he didn't come to accept his award for 8 Mile like 17 years ago or
Yeah.
however long ago it was, because it was like establishment and he was like not going to sell out and go to the awards and stuff. And then like in
he
those
didn't
17
think he was going to win. I read an interview.
Oh, I thought it was I didn't think it was because of
I
that.
think he was at home
No.
with his daughter. or
Yeah, he was
something.
just at home. He was
Oh.
asleep when the award show happened. He was
I
with his
thought for sure
daughter.
that I thought it was because he was like, because he used to rap about how like
Yeah,
he's not going to go to the Grammys because he's
yeah.
not going to be around all those fucking people.
I like, but it like he didn't think he was going to win, so he like didn't bother to show up. Is like a big part of it. It seems like he was like excited to win, according to this interview he did. But that was also a very different time in his life, so who knows?
I do think it's funny that in the 17 years since, he's now like in a place where he can show up for the Oscars, but he still can't write a rap without saying homophobic slurs and like talking about beating up women. It's
Yeah.
like amazing.
Although the one thing that the one good thing that came from that performance is there are some reaction pictures and they are great. Like Idina Menzel is like, what the fuck? And it's,
Yeah.
it's
And I mean, that's a great song. I like that song.
No, it's a good song.
But it's so wild to me that like they would even have him at the thing.
Apparently
such a
they were
weird,
gonna
like-
they were like looking at getting people like someone else to perform it, because they asked him to perform like back at when he was nominated, and they were like, oh, who can we get? And like, oh, maybe we can get like 50 Cent to perform or something.
my God.
Perform Lose Yourself.
That'd be weird.
But
Yeah.
yeah, because like a lot at that time, they weren't usually, it wasn't like the person performing their own song, it was like someone else. But
Yeah. But anyways, to wrap up the Oscar thoughts, I think they made a lot of right choices with the winners this year, which is more than you can say for years prior.
yeah.
And
Which
yeah, like obviously at this point, probably everyone in the world knows how Parasite won tons of
I've
awards.
got a hot theory about that.
Mm.
The Hollywood elite are so terrified
God.
of the class uprising that they went, oh, we like Parasite too. Yeah, it's great. And that's why Parasite won Best Picture.
That's a
I
funny,
definitely
it's a funny one.
I haven't watched, obviously I haven't watched all the Best Picture nominees, but like having watched Parasite this week, the way that it also like a Parasite, the way that it like makes you continue to think about it. I have a hard time imagining that any of the other movies on the list have quite that same effect. Like they all seem like great films, but with maybe the exception of Joker, I don't know. But that movie is just like when Parasite was over, I was like, wow, that was a great movie. Not sure it's my favorite Bong Joon-ho film, but that was really fantastic. I'm glad that it won. And then like every day since I watched it, I'm just like, I should watch that movie again because it had stuff going. It had so much stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot you can unpack from it, even just in retrospect. Like you can think,
like every single scene has something going on like that.
Totally. And there's so many things that you can dig up, but beyond that too, it's just like a really well made movie too. So it's very engaging to watch, as well as being incredibly solid or incredibly
well crafted.
And that there's also things that you can unpack there in terms of theme and in terms of
it's like a film student's dream because or a film teacher's dream maybe, because like it's an example of like every single piece of imagery and sequence has a deeper layered meaning, but also it's not like it's just trying too hard. It's not a movie, there's like movies that are
metaphorical.
But there's movies that are like all metaphor, like they're fine. But the point is the metaphor, whereas Parasite is like everything is metaphor, but also it's just a good movie. And you can just watch it from start to finish and it's enjoyable. It's really, like you had said earlier this week, Alex, it's really two good movies because it kind of does have a hard break at one point and goes from being one kind of movie to being another kind of movie.
I think the scene in which that happens is also perfectly executed.
It's
like a 10-minute sequence where it goes from being that kind of heist movie drama-y comedy kind of thing into almost a horror movie. All within the span of 10 minutes, and they do it like so perfectly.
Yep. So
anyways,
you should definitely watch it.
They picked the best movie for Best Picture this year.
Yeah, which is bananas because that doesn't always happen. It's almost rare that happens, that they actually pick the best movie.
Well, this year their lives were on the line in the upcoming class war, so they had to choose it. They had no choice.
Yeah. And also the fact that, translators were up on stage in order to help that. Like that was a nice change.
Just such cool moments like he got to say the Scorsese quote while Scorsese was there and stuff.
Was so cool.
Yeah, that stuff is really cool. It was such a good wrap on for like Scorsese too for the year, because he's had some questionable takes this year, and I thought it was cool to end on a high note for him. And like when The Irishman was coming out, I was kind of like, man, I don't know, this seems like such a like it's Scorsese doing the Scorsese thing again for Netflix. I don't know, but it turns out that movie apparently is really, really good. And actually really, really good. So it's just cool that like all of that stuff kind of coalesced at that show, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, that's your movie fix for 2020.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be back next year to talk about more movies.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Best Picture, Harold and Maude.
This year has very little in terms of movies that I'm excited about. Very little.
You weren't excited
best
for Dr.
ones are the
Dolittle?
ones that he pulls bagpipes out of a dragon's ass.
Now I'm excited for Dr. Dolittle. I hadn't heard that.
No, that is a
like the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Dr. Dolittle will be my cats.
Apparently it's terrible.
I've heard it's rancid.
I'm looking forward to whatever Adam Sandler makes next, since Uncut Gems did not perform.
Yeah,
I believe he did threaten to make something purposefully bad.
Does he think that his awful movies are good?
No,
I don't know. I think that's like he's just making bullshit, and he knows they're not good, but he's going to make something purposefully bad. And like, I think the implication he hasn't been trying is what that would mean.
The bigger question is what podcasters should come together to make a podcast where they watch whatever his horrible movie coming out is every
Demi
week.
Adejuyigbe.
Okay.
Pat
Gill.
Cotter.
No, I'm not going to watch the bad Adam Sandler movie ever. Not especially
okay. Pat Gill, Demi Adejuyigbe,
Vinny Caravella.
God.
By the way,
we need a woman on this.
Yeah. And Keita Jackson.
No.
Make Keita watch.
How about
Daniel Riendeau?
Greta Gerwig.
Yeah, sure. Greta Gerwig, Vinny Caravella, Pat Gill, Demi Adichie.
Speaking of Pat Gill, if you haven't watched it, his interview with Ben Schwartz on the Polygon YouTube channel is
extremely good.
Like maybe the best interview I've ever seen. It is
very good.
The physical comedy they do with the paper airplane, like at one point, it's a mild spoiler, but it's really good. I want I want Pat Gill to become famous enough that he can actually do something regular with Ben Schwartz.
There's a discussion about who Shadow the Hedgehog is also extremely good. I like to the point where I can't stop thinking about it.
He asks him what Sonic is running from.
It is like the best interview, and I am like,
the cut clip where is like where Ben Schwartz is like reading questions. He's like, "Can't Sonic cuss?"
No, but that's not even the best part of that.
Oh, we lost Allison.
Allison.
No, we can't know the best part. You're back.
No, you're back.
Okay,
it's fine.
Yeah, but no, the best part is that is what's the worst word that Sonic can say?
I don't even remember that one.
Oh,
it was like a cut clip on YouTube.
I saw it. Oh yeah. It didn't strike me. I remember that it was linked to me, and then it didn't. Mm-hmm. I watched it, and it didn't actually strike me as being that funny. Mm-hmm. But I probably need to watch it again.
It was the first thing I saw from that, so that's probably why it stuck in my head. But all right. Speaking of Sonic, Pat played video games.
Yes.
He remembered what this podcast is about.
I was going to say we are quite a bit into this podcast, and we have yet to talk much about video games.
As of Monday,
talked about the eventual Grand Theft Auto 6, Harold and Maude.
As of Monday, I definitely was like, maybe I'll just skip the podcast this weekend because I'm just going to play Modern Warfare this week because season 2 of Modern Warfare came out and it's cool.
Wait, there's still one thing I had to talk about, but we'll get back to it.
Okay. Modern Warfare continues to be good. That new assault rifle kind of sucks ass, but the UMP 45 is very good and maybe a little too good. But no, I ended up actually playing some sort of new stuff. I don't know. It's a weird world because I played a game that has been in early access for like 3 years.
But it's 1.0.
And just hit 1.0. And I played a game that's in beta. So both ends of the spectrum. But first, I can talk a little bit about Wolcen, which hit 1.0 this week. Wolcen is a game that I ended up picking up because I remember I had wishlisted it because it looked really cool, but the reviews on it in early access were not super hot. So, and as much as I hate Steam, the culture of Steam user reviews, like digging into reading these ones for this game it was pretty clear that it did have some rough edges. But then I got an email that it had hit 1.0 and I clicked on the store page and it had like very positive reviews, like 92%. I linked it to some friends who really like these kinds of games and they were like, yeah, let's get it and play it. So started playing that. It is an action RPG in the Diablo vein, or really more in the Path of Exile vein, pretty directly. It's click to move, and you have skills, and you're from a sort of an isometric viewpoint and everything. And those games it's a genre that I really, really want to like, but I always get bored of those games like after an hour or two. And this one, it's too bad that Sam had to duck out because I wanted to talk about this as it relates to Diablo, but this one seems pretty cool. Have any of you played Path of Exile before or seen like
Yes.
I played like tree? An hour.
Yeah, like I saw the tree and like when you get up to doing maps and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Path of Exile's got this really cool passive skill tree or passive, whatever you want to call it, tree. That's like a sphere grid kind of. Yeah. And there's no classes. You just kind of progress around it and do make builds. But the thing about Path of Exile is that the builds are generally centered around one or two active skills that you use, which isn't super interesting to me. I like sort of the more loadout style character building that's in Diablo 3. But for some reason, Diablo 3 just has never really, like, the character development never really clicked with me. So interestingly, Wolcen kind of combines those two things. So it has a big passive skill sphere, circle, whatever, that has like paths around it, very similar to Path of Exile. But it has, I don't know the two games well enough to really say accurately, but it felt like it was about a third as big as Path of Exile's massive skill map. So it's a lot more, but instead of like, it's smaller, but it's more, every node is a lot more impactful in Wolcen. Whereas in Path of Exile, you might get like a 2% life bonus. In Wolcen, you'll get like 10%. So you actually notice the effects of the nodes that you're getting on leveling up. And it's broken into 3 rings, like the center and then 2 rings, and you can rotate them. So you can basically make any combination of skill archetypes that you want. And so it leads to like looking around the ring and going, okay, I see a cool thing that I'm going to try, and then trying to build that. Like I spent like 10 minutes looking at the rings and was like, okay, so if I rotate it this way and this way, I can make a build that focuses on lifesteal and attack speed, and try to make like a ranger that like heals back as much damage as they're taking from attacking. And so and then like, because each node is pretty impactful, you start to feel it right away. So like I can already, in 2 hours of play, my attacks are like 3 times as fast as they were when I first started. So that stuff is really cool. It's not like the items aren't super exciting. That's one area where it doesn't really hang with something like Diablo, where you tend to get like pretty cool looking stuff fairly early. But the skill system is more similar to Diablo. You unlock them by finding them in the world rather than leveling up. But when you, the skills like level up themselves, and then you can put modifiers on them and things. But the skills are very kinetic. So there's like a turret skill where you can drop a turret and it'll shoot at people. But then you can also pick the turret up and walk around with it and shoot people with the turret, and then it becomes kind of like you're pulling out this big Gatling gun. Or there's things like there's a hammer throw ability where when you hit the skill again, it returns the hammers and deals damage coming back. So the skills are a lot more like active and feel more action oriented. That's more strategic. I actually died a couple of times fairly early on because it's a little tougher out of the gate than something like Diablo. So yeah, the downsides of it right now is that it's got a lot of technical issues still. A friend of mine sent me a screenshot of a boss that he killed that was just T-posed the whole time, which was very funny. And they've basically, the servers have been down like 80% of the time since 1.0 released, because in beta they had like under 10,000 players at most, and then it got featured on Steam, and so then they like, and it had very good reviews, so it sold a lot quickly. And the developers were like, we had no clue that this was going to be, that our servers were going to get hit this hard. Like they were like, people were criticizing them for not doing a stress test, and they were like, if we had done a stress test, we would not have been able to draw half the people that actually ended up buying the game, because we didn't have any reach, and now we have like, we've sold like a lot of copies. So hopefully it'll iron out. Unfortunately, that culture of Steam reviews, it had great reviews going into 1.0, and now it has like, it's getting like destroyed by people who say it doesn't work and it's broken and unplayable, which is like technically true right now, but also it's like 12 people at the studio making this, like what they were just trying to make a cool indie Path of Exile alternative, and now it's blowing up and they're trying their best. So
I would be patient.
Keep an eye on it, and if you like those kinds of games, it's definitely worth picking up. It does have some like pretty dumb, it has that weird problem that it's built on CryEngine, and it has that weird problem that I find is pretty common with CryEngine games. Saying stuff like that is questionable because I don't know how to make a game in CryEngine, and a lot of times people put too much stock in the engine that's being used and without understanding it, which I'm kind of doing here. But it has like really cool monster designs, and the armor and weapon designs are pretty cool. So when you're actually playing it, it looks good, and the lighting is outstanding. But the character designs for like NPCs in cutscenes aren't as good, and like there's something like kind of off about them. Like it's not like the models are sometimes not as good as the environments and the lighting. So it creates this weird like uncanny valley thing where like the backgrounds look really great, and when you're zoomed out in the gameplay view, all of it looks really good. But when they zoom in for the cutscenes, it's like, yeesh, those faces do not look like.
Sounds like they just shouldn't zoom in.
Yeah. That's kind of like the cutscenes are good, but sometimes when it's like people in armor and stuff, it's fine. But whenever a face has to animate, or like the characters have to animate in like clothing instead of armor, it doesn't look very good. But that's a super minor nitpick, super tiny nitpick. And you know, like all these games, the story is not good. These games never have good story. It has one cool mechanic that is wholly unique to it, instead of cribbing from other things, where you sort of like charge an ultimate ability, and then you press R to activate it, but it's like a transformation into a like demon or angel or like monster, basically. That's pretty cool and different. But the other thing with the character designs is the character creator is super limited. But there's one NPC that you meet early, and I don't understand what the impetus was, but like her breasts are kind of like boulders,
like bags of sand.
It looks like she could probably hit someone with them and it would just knock them out cold. And I guess they couldn't produce armor that was like, or like a leather suit that was like large enough to fit around them, because she has to keep her suit unzipped down to like her belly button. And it's the dumbest fucking thing. It looks real stupid. And it's one of those like, come on. We've hit a point where you don't have to do this. It's not like I look at that character and go, oh yeah, I'm turned on right now. It's like a Diablo model. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really stupid. And I really wish that we would stop doing that as a society.
Have you ever stopped to consider that maybe that is the armor?
Well,
it's all cosmetic. It's
probably effective then.
That is the armor, and then she takes that off when she gets home and wants to take a bath.
Another neat thing that is less silly. Thankfully, like I'm playing as a woman, and the armor that I'm finding isn't like that. So like that character is ridiculous, but it's not like that's a recurring problem.
Well, it's because you're not at the high
armor
game.
Design. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you got to get a level 99 girlfriend to get the sexy armor.
Yeah. But whenever you get something, get a piece of armor or a weapon, it unlocks it as a cosmetic. So you can just like transmog any gear to look like any other gear that you found, which is kind of neat. It costs gold to do the transmog, but that's it. It's kind of a pittance. So it has a cool end game too, from what I've seen. It's like you're rebuilding the city. So you do like Diablo style adventure mode stuff, but you get resources that you then use to build projects in the city that give you like boosts to magic find or open up new vendors and stuff like that. So it's a cool game. I highly recommend it. It's I think it's $40. So it is kind of approaching that full price, but it seems like you can get hundreds of hours out of it. It feels like a kind of good alternative if you like the idea of Path of Exile, but haven't really, sometimes Path of Exile is free to playness, even though you can play the whole game for free without buying anything. Sometimes it's free to playness still feels like it gets in the way a little bit to me whenever I've tried to get into it. And I just don't particularly like the way that builds work in Path of Exile. And they seem more creative and interesting and expressive in Wilson. So I recommend it.
Yeah. In terms of like indie kind of these like isometric RPGs, how do you think this stacks up to like Grim Dawn?
It's tough to say. Like, if you want to play through a game and then be done with it, Grim Dawn is, I think, maybe a better game, because Grim Dawn has a better, like, I wouldn't go so far as to say Grim Dawn has like a great story, but it's still interesting. I think it's probably the best of this genre in terms of its campaign play.
Sure.
But Grim Dawn also doesn't have, it's still like a class-based game, right? So like, you kind of play it to end game, and the end game in it is like, it's fine, but it's more about playing it to end game with a character and then putting the build together for that character that you want, seeing if it works, and then going, oh, cool. And then starting over with a different character and doing that. Whereas this game is much more like, you finish the campaign once, and then you never play it again, because every time you make a new character, you can jump straight into the end game with that character and just do the adventure style stuff. And so it's much more about like playing around with different builds. You can also it's classless, right? So you can take everything back for a pretty small fee of in-game currency, and then respec out to a totally different build. So you can take your like ranger from being a pistol wielding attack speed ranger to being a warrior that uses pets or whatever. So I think in that regard, it's like, if you want to play a game for a long time, Wolcen is maybe a better thing, but there's also so much Grim Dawn now with all the different expansions they've done that there's a lot to play through. So awesome. I don't know. They're both really good games.
Have they put out like a roadmap for anything after 1.0, or? I
think they're still trying to keep the servers from exploding. They had a Trello roadmap that I think still has some stuff on it, but they do plan on supporting it. They're talking about doing seasonal events. They are going to do a cosmetic shop to continue to bring in some revenue, because it seems the studio, they named themselves Wolcen Studio, so I think they want to make this game for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think they want to
call their shot
something else. Yeah. This game was originally a Kickstarter for a game called Umbra, and it's sort of an interesting heritage, because Umbra was going to be like open world, and it was going to have like very, very, very in-depth weapon crafting, where you could like put specific parts together to make your perfect ARPG weapon. None of that stuff is in this game. It's an act-based kind of linear Diablo style progression, like move through the world, and there's no weapon customization. So I don't know, they might try to like pull some of that original pitch in, but some backers were a little pissed off, because while the thing they made is really good, it is nothing like what their initial Kickstarter pitch was. So
that's the risk with Kickstarter.
Yeah. I think I would be more critical of it if the thing they made hadn't turned out pretty great in its own respect. So yeah. But still has tech issues. There's some balancing issues. I guess they're super indie. There's like one skill that the number is wrong in the back end code. So it'll give you it's supposed to give you 10% damage increase, but it gives you 1,000% damage increase. So if you take that node, it just you could just destroy everything.
Seems like a quick fix though, hopefully.
Yeah. So I'm sure it'll get better.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, Wonderful 101 actually does have the in-depth weapon crafting. Who knew? It got pulled from the Umbra Kickstarter and got put into Wonderful 101.
Yeah, totally.
Super in-depth weapon crafting.
There was one person that was going to make that happen, and they went from Wolcen Studio to
Platinum.
To Platinum.
They took all their work with them.
Speaking of Platinum, it's not Platinum game, but it's a game by a studio that has clearly been inspired by Platinum.
Ninja Theory, right?
Yeah, Ninja Theory's. I played some of the beta for Bleeding Edge, Ninja Theory's new multiplayer brawler, and it's pretty interesting. I'm very interested.
Hobby grade.
Well, it's better than Battleborn, but it definitely has a lot of there was something that while I was playing it, I was like, I like this, but there's something about it that I think is going to miss with people. And then I realized this is kind of like Battleborn in some ways. It's better again, but it's a melee focused Overwatch basically. And it's very, very Overwatch. There's 11 characters so far. They're divided into offense, support, and tank. The character designs are very kind of Borderlands-y, but in some ways more they're better than Borderlands. I think like they're more interesting in my opinion. They're weird. Like there's a lady who has like robotic legs, and she's kind of like she is like a bird, and she makes like bird noises sometimes and stuff. There's another lady that is that rides like a unicycle, and but like a motorcycle unicycle, not like a
motorized
unicycle. Is it like one of them wheels that has like the two things on the side of it, and you just kind of stand on it like a hoverboard?
No, but not a hoverboard, not or whatever, uniwheel, hover wheel, whatever.
Yeah, the thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi uses to chase General Grievous.
No, it's just no, it's like the back half of a motorcycle. Like she's like a bigger lady, and she rides this motorcycle wheel on the back, and then she has like 2 saws for her weapons, and she can go when she like goes into every character can like jump on a hoverboard, but for some that don't have
are they chainsaws?
No, they're like circular saw blades. She can, when she goes into her travel mode, instead of pulling out a hoverboard, she like leans down and then uses those 2 saw blades as like the front wheel of the motorcycle. It's very weird. Yeah. And it's the kind of game that the aesthetic is very much like, at first it was a little off-putting to me, and then I played it for 20 minutes and I was like, yeah, I'm into this. And then every time I have looked at it and I need that like adjustment period to go like, yeah, this is where we're at right now. This is what we're doing. We're doing a graffiti samurai guy. And so, and like it plays, it's very fluid and it plays well. The problem is that like your auto attack has a combo. So you left click, I'm playing on mouse and keyboard because I'm playing on PC. And you left click to do an auto attack. And out of the 11 characters, 4 of them are ranged, and the rest of them all are like combo based melee. But I say combo very lightly because it's just like a mash combo. It's like you just hit the left click, or I don't know if it's right trigger. I don't think it would be, but you click the attack button over and over and over again, and they do a combo. And you're trying to like lock people in to your combo so that they take a bunch of damage from your combo. There's a dodge mechanic where if you time it right, you can dodge out of combos, but that uses up stamina. So it's sort of a back and forth of stamina usage. And one-on-one, it could maybe be interesting, but it would basically just be whoever does the best pair, because you can also parry stuff if you time it really well. So it would really just be like a back and forth of who has better reflexes, rather than particularly strategic. And then you have abilities on your right click, your Q, and your E that are super Overwatchy. It'll be like, but they're not that interesting. It'll be like, oh, one character will slam their hands on the ground and then everyone gets slowed around them. But another character will stomp their foot on the ground and everyone gets rooted around them. And yet another character will push a button and they'll bang their staff on the ground and everybody around them takes damage. It's like,
it's a MOBA, it's a Dota.
Yeah, but it's in a world where those are already good. It's kind of like, if you're going to make another one of those, you really got to do something interesting. And I'm not sure that the comboing and stuff is enough to differentiate it, because the combos just aren't that interesting, really. It's just like, oh, I hope I get my mash combo in. And the biggest thing for me that I find frustrating is when you play, like I've been playing a fair amount of League because my partner reinstalled it. So we've been playing ARAMs and stuff. And if you're really good at League, sometimes you can do like really cool 1v4s or something, like there's room for super high level play to make you be able to pull more from the character. And I'm certainly not saying that I'm like at the skill cap for Bleeding Edge by any stretch, but it does seem like if I am by myself and the whole enemy team is coming towards me, there would be no amount of skilled play that could make anything other than me immediately dying happen. because it seems like it's very just like mathy of like when the teams collide, all that really matters is who's attacking who. And I hope I'm wrong about that. I've only played a few matches, so I could be wrong. But the matches also seem like they're not that long, but they feel too long for what the kind of game it is. It seems like they should be like 10 to 15 minutes, and they're more like 20 to 25 minutes, which feels, or maybe I'm just having a weird time perception with it because I have some issues with it. But I'm interested to see where it goes. It's like, it's a kind of game that I want to play more of, because in some ways, like when I'm being as charitable as possible, it reminds me of like if you combined Overwatch and Smite being a game that I really enjoy, whereas and Overwatch being a game that I generally like as far as the gameplay is concerned, but I don't know that it's that good yet. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. It's like $30 to buy it, so it's not a full $60 game, and it's on Game Pass because Ninja Theory is a Microsoft first party now. So theoretically, it should get support regardless of how it's perceived up front. And I don't know, maybe they'll take criticisms from early on. I think it's going to get hammered when it comes to like reviews and the public perception when it releases, because I think people are going to play it who are not like, I think Jeff Gerstmann is going to play this game and go like, what the fuck, and just drop it like a stone. But I wonder if it'll live on with people that are looking for the very specific niche that it's sort of playing in, which technically I'm someone who would enjoy that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah.
How pornable are these characters?
Not. That is something I appreciate
it's
about the character
battle.
designs. Like I said, like the one of the 10 characters is a larger lady, and they still like put a tight fitting shirt on her. Sorry for the background noise. They put like a tight fitting shirt on her, and there's definitely like some cleavage going on. And I was like, all right, yeah. But I can see like lots of gamer bros being like, this is gross, unfortunately, because gamers suck. And like, it's definitely not a game where they designed the characters for sex appeal at all. They have like in a cool way. They have like weird proportions and stuff. Like one of the attackers is like this old lady that has a balloon that like holds her up, because she's clearly like, she wouldn't be able to like run around on her own, which is an interesting thing that I think is kind of cool about it. Is a lot of the characters are living with some kind of disability if you look at the way that they're designed, but then they have these like prosthetics or like tools to help them, which I think is cool.
Can I shoot the old lady's balloon and make her fall over?
No. There's only a few people that shoot anyway.
Can I hit it with a saw? Can I do something to this old lady's balloon?
No.
What?
She's good too. She literally can drop a cage around you, like a bird cage.
You know, between this and this Harold and Maude and Watch Dogs Legion, old women are having a comeback in the year 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the old woman in Bleeding Edge is actually named Maude, now that I think about it.
Oh man. That's awesome.
I'm going to look that up. But I don't know. It's in beta right now. If you have Game Pass, you can play it in beta this weekend. I would recommend checking it out. And, you know, if you have Game Pass, you're going to have the game when it comes out in a month and a week. So
is that soon? Okay. Yeah.
March 24th is the date.
I have two thoughts for you on this thing.
Maeve is her name. Sorry.
Maeve. The first thought is when you said it was very mathy, I thought you said it's very mappy. And I'm like, oh shit, man. If they made a mappy version of this where you're playing as like a mouse and you're trying to chase cats around, that'd be pretty great. But another thing, just from like the attitude and like you were talking about like the character who has a motorcycle, who turns into a motorcycle with her blades on her arms and all that kind of stuff. Like the general attitude of it comes across as like if David Jaffe wasn't a total shithead.
Yeah, sure. Sure. There's a bit of that kind of, yeah.
Like it seems like
it's got
if
a
Twisted
bit of a
Metal,
Twisted Metal-ish
Twisted
thing.
Metal, but good and also kind of modernized.
Yeah, I dropped a Buttercup, picture of Buttercup in our chat as an example. She's a very good example of like how this art generally is.
Sure. I will put that up on the video version for a little bit.
So it's an interesting thing, but like looking at her skills, if you right click, she has yank, chain an enemy and yank them back to you. Her Q is oil slick, drop a puddle of oil that slows enemies, and her E is whiplash, unleash a flurry of whipping blades that damage all nearby enemies. And it's like the E, you just pop it and then you drive around and it hits people that are near you. It's very like fun and functional, but also it's not better than other games that do that either. So I don't know.
Seems
if they can balance it really well, it could be a great alternative to Overwatch, because that's Overwatch's biggest problem from a gameplay perspective. I think it has plenty of bigger problems from a cultural perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, Overwatch is just poorly balanced from what I hear right now. So if they can find a way to balance this game super well, then I could see that being cool. Because it controls well. It does not feel, though, I think I was expecting, since it's Ninja Theory, for it to feel like more like a character action game. And I would not say it feels like that. It feels much more like it's a little more free and fast, but it's closer to something like Smite than it is to something like DMC.
Do you think that they will add Senua as a character?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I think that would be unfortunate if they did, because the tone of this game is very over the top. My favorite character design is a snake that like animates a corpse, so it looks like it's a zombie guy with a snake, but really the snake is the character.
Snake.
I don't think that Senua would be a good addition. I will say that I'm very glad that they announced Senua's Saga, because if this game came out and they didn't have another game announced, I would be like, oh, this is what Ninja Theory is doing now. So I'm glad that this seems to be like a sort of side game for them in some respects, while their main team works on Senua's Saga.
You don't know that. Maybe this is the main team.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that it's definitely worth trying this game, but I have pretty metered expectations for the reception of it, and it's one that I could see like scrapping it out and keeping alive, because it's at least unique in its melee-ness, even if it's not unique in its Overwatch-ness. But I could also see it being the kind of game that comes out in March, and by September, like, no one is playing it.
Okay. Well, is the beta just running this weekend, or is it like
there's a beta this weekend, and then there's also one the week before it comes out in March, on the 14th of March.
All right. Wow.
So it's not a huge game. That's nice. It's like 12 gigs, which, as someone with a data cap, I appreciated.
Well, you know what all these things that we've talked about in the past like hour have in common?
What's that?
They can all be made in dreams.
Wow.
The newest release from Media Molecule, much like Wolcen, it has been available in like an early access kind of state. They released like not a preview version, like an early version for people who want to get into the creative stuff of Dreams. If you don't remember what Dreams is, it's the game where you can make all sorts of stuff, follow up to Little Big Planet in a way, but a lot more robust in its creativity tools. I have not messed with any of the creativity stuff yet. I'm not very good when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I've only played like an hour or so. But so the game came out on Valentine's Day, Friday, February 14th, and one of the big things with the full release was that Media Molecule actually put in like their own like stuff to like showcase, okay, here's what's possible. Here's all the stuff that we've made internally. Not all the stuff, but here's a lot of stuff we've made internally with the tools of the game. All things possible for players and creators. So you can play that to kind of get an idea of what's possible. And one of the things I played was like a kind of a Resogun type thing where you've got like a cone, not a cone, a cylinder that you're kind of flying around and shooting like aliens and ships and stuff, like dual joystick shooter kind of thing. And
Jewel joystick is a pretty good one.
Jewel joystick. Yeah. So that was fine. It wasn't like anything mind blowing, but it had like a ton of upgrade like mechanics where like you'd earn money by, you know, destroying ships and like lasting waves, and then once you got enough money you could back out, and then you could buy upgrades for like your health or your shield or your guns, and those would all like, you know, carry over into the thing. I haven't gone back to it since I stopped playing it, so I don't know if like if I back out of the game, do I lose all that progress? So there are like ways to checkpoint that kind of stuff, but I'm not exactly sure how it works for players, like for like if you're creating like a game like that. And then the other thing I played in it was, I believe it was called Art Therapy, and it's the kind of the big showcase thing from Media Molecule, I believe, because
Like
it is their thing.
Specifically, Media Molecule made things.
Yes, this is like, it's like the first thing you see when you go into like dream surfing. I believe it's called Art Therapy, because there's a guy named Art in it, and you're kind of going through his thoughts and working through some stuff with him. And they describe it as like a feature-length film kind of experience. So I played for probably 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm barely halfway through.
Is it kind of like Little Big Planet in the way that you play through that and it gives you things like it unlocks things for use in the creative mode, or is that
so I haven't looked into the creative mode, but I am collecting stuff, and I think what I'm collecting is like the assets that are in, so like I'm getting sounds or like models that they created and used in this video. I don't know if like other people can do that. I don't know if that's like a Media Molecule specific thing, because you can just go in and be like, oh, hey, I like this model, I want to use this model, and just pull it and use it. So I don't know exactly what the purpose of that is.
Yeah, the coolest thing about Dreams, in my opinion, is you can pull other people's work and then it credits them in the credits for your game.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah,
so you can pull it, remix it, and do your own thing, and be like, "Oh, hey, this was based on this person's thing," but then they changed it themselves.
And you don't get to not do like it's. What's cool is like if I pull your T-Rex model and use it in my game, when people finish playing, it's going to show credits, and it's going to be like, "Oh, this person made this T-Rex model."
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think you can lock your stuff down so people can't use it, but as far as I've seen, no one does that because everyone likes to like have their stuff get shared around. That's the community around that game is so cool.
So the cool thing about Art Therapy is like the whole point is it's trying to showcase as much of what you can do with the game as possible. So like it starts off, it's got like tons of cutscenes and like very artistic. It's all based on like the main character is a double bassist in a jazz band, and he's going through like he's going through some personal stuff. He lost his dragon. He quit his band to go search for his dragon. And he's like going through memories, and there's like this crow, Thornbeak, and it ate the eye of one of his like childhood dolls. I don't know, man. And so like it starts off and it's like you're going around and you're the little imp thing that is kind of the cursor, and you're like looking around the room and like messing with some dolls and toys. And then you possess one of the dolls. There's two dolls, Foxy, and I can't remember the other one. Foxy is the one that lost its eye. And then you go into like this kind of 3D platformer kind of world, kind of like a Super Lucky's Tale or like a Crash Bandicoot, just kind of like corridor platformer kind of thing. And then you've got different powers on the different characters. Like one shoots, one's like a melee, and then you go from that into the like quote unquote real world, and you're controlling Art, and you're walking around, you're investigating places. You've got like conversation trees where you're picking different options. It's fully voiced, and there's tons of music through this whole thing. There's musical numbers where like it's like they've got these long, like multi-minute songs, like, and during this there's like the guy's like throwing out like things you can collect, and it's all very well produced. Like, you know, when you're a big studio like Media Molecule, you can afford to do that when that's supposed to be your you know, landmark thing or whatever, your showpiece, as it were. And the most impressive thing to me is it's all seamless. You're just like bouncing between all these different kinds of gameplay and presentations for things. So if like that's what's actually possible with these tools, I can't wait to like really dive in and see what the super ambitious creators are doing.
Yeah.
The thing, what I found, I didn't spend that much time. I like went in to Dream Surf, which is what they call like just like kind of surfing through different games to try people have made, and I found like a pretty cool marble one that was like a Marble Madness kind of thing, and I played that for a little bit, and then I found one that was like a Spider-Man swinging simulator, and it was not as good as playing. I mean, it was impressive that this person made it, so props to them, but it was not as good as playing Marvel Spider-Man,
of course, the game.
I mean, and it's kind of expected.
Yeah, of course. But then I started to play like a couple. I found like one like shooter. I found a little like hide and seek thing that someone had made, and it was all cool. And I think it's awesome for people that their whole thing is they want to create and then operate in the community and share what they've created with other people who are creating. Yeah. But if you want to play games, I don't know that you can make like a truly great game in there. It's really impressive what you can make with their tools for sure. But I don't know that we're ever going to have, maybe I hope what happens is that in a year, there's like a bunch of articles at Vice and Kotaku and Polygon that are like, holy shit, this Dreams game, you need to check this out. But I wonder if we're going to get there, because the tools are good and there's a lot of really talented people in the community, but it's still not an experience on par with playing a professionally made video game, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to take away from people making stuff in that community, because it's way better than I could do. But it seems like you really have to, the draw for you has to be, I want to see what people are making, not I want to play great games.
Would you say that you recommend it more towards people who are interested in making games, rather than like if you're just going into it saying, I just want to play games, maybe not? Or
it depends on why you want to make games. Like if you're like, I want to be like, it's very like, I'm, you know, if you're like, I want to make games, I want to be a game developer. If you're like, you know, a kid in high school or college, I want to build games, I'd say go learn Unity or Unreal.
That's kind of my point.
Or you could, or even just get something like RPG Maker, if that's
but this is a great way to get, you know, you can it's got a built-in service. It has a built-in audience where people can just kind of see it, and it can be a great way to like kind of just mess with stuff because everything's right there and like a little more user friendly. I think I haven't messed with the creative stuff though.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I liked Little Big Planet 2 a lot, and Little Big Planet 1 was fine. But to me, it seems more akin to something like getting really into the Warcraft 3 modding scene, where people aren't necessarily making full games there, but they're making like a really good idea that's isolated to that kind of like a round kind of based thing. So,
but like, even then, like Warcraft 3 is like, you have the basic, it's isometric, and like you have the basic mechanics where you can basically make anything whole cloth. Like I've seen some really bonkers stuff people have made with this that I don't understand how they've done with like gyroscope controls on like a TV, and
which is fascinating. And
that stuff is cool. I guess it's just like, I could see
even the Dreams people are like, how did you do that?
In my head, it's like, well, you know, I could make a really cool space game in this thing. Like the tools are there, you could do it. But at what point is it like, am I making a proof of concept that I'm then going to pull out and make in Unity or something, or where I don't know the tools as well and I'm not a 3D modeler and Dreams makes that stuff easier? Or am I going to spend thousands of hours building a full experience within Dreams? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I'm very interested to see how it goes because I think it's super ambitious in a cool way. And I think the work that Media Molecule has done is really, really impressive. And I think that the stuff community creators are doing is really, really impressive. But I still don't know.
There are also plenty of people who can't necessarily afford a computer who would be interested in building games and stuff. And this is a great way for
also
them
maybe
to
if you're like
get into
younger and you're like a kid, like you express interest in making games, it might be like a nice gift or a nice thing to just like test out the waters.
It's $40, so it's not super expensive, and like it's got all the tools you need. Like you can use a mic that you have to put in voiceover. It's got like tech stuff. It's got like built-in like music tools, so you can do all sorts of.
Yeah,
I'm just interested to see
stuff and like build. You can make movies if you want. Like if you want to do like animation for like movies, I think those tools aren't as readily available as something like a Unity or an Unreal. So
yeah, but I think the thing about this versus Unity or Unreal is, like if let's say you're handing this to a 12-year-old or something, if you try to get them into Unity and Unreal, they're going to have to learn either C# or C++, and that is a huge thing to ask of a 12-year-old.
12-year-old has a lot of time.
That's true.
Like it's much more like it's much more approachable. But it like if you're like, okay, I really want to make games, then like possibly if you have the resources, like you've got a computer that can do that kind of stuff, it might be worth it to just dive into that. But also it's a lot easier probably because you can build the thing with your hands. If you've got the Move controllers, you can sculpt with your hands and stuff like that.
To me, like I could see, I'm just going to keep using the 12-year-old. Like I could see them running to C++ and just like banging their heads against it and getting frustrated and giving up and not wanting to come back to it. Whereas with this, they can see stuff, make stuff, and have immediate feedback, which is probably more appealing for.
Yeah, and I think that's an important note is that if you're working on something in Unity, like you can launch another Unity game and go like, oh, this is what's possible, but is it really possible? Because like I don't have any talent for 3D modeling. So it's going to be really, really, really hard for me, like using the tools. I mean, it's going to be really hard for me to recreate something.
Totally.
But with Dreams, you can launch directly into someone else's game and go, okay, they made this in their tool set was limited to the exact same thing that mine is limited to. How did they do this? And how can I do something? How can I adapt ideas from this into what I want to make?
Yeah.
And you can even like, I believe, not just limited to downloading people's creation, like models, but you can also download like music or I think they're full dreams and remix those.
I believe you can, remix a full game. You can take someone else's game and put your spin on it, and
or like their video or whatever they've done.
Yeah. So it's very cool, and I don't want to sound down on it at all. It's just I haven't like I'm trying to find the right way to articulate it without sounding like a jerk. But like
I think there's definitely like concerns about the entire thing is basically community focused and community generated content when there's no like reward for the community. There's no compensation or anything, even though this game lives and dies by its community. And so it's basically just people who have fun creating. So,
and there's stuff like
kind of like
I think this is a good way to articulate it. You don't take a creative writing class to read great literature. And I don't know that you play this or you buy this to play great games. It's more like you're joining a community of people who are working it out and figuring out like ways to flex sort of, young muscles in the design space.
Which isn't sorry, go for it.
It's a localized itch.io for consoles where it's like the entire ecosystem is in Dreams, which is maybe reductive, but it's like a source of like super tiny games. But there's no compensation model. Maybe Patreons pop up around this or something.
That would be cool.
I could see that. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But I mean, this idea is not new, and Media Molecule made the previous idea. Like Little Big Planet.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay with 2, especially when they launched LBP.me and stuff. Like it was very much that same kind of community that's limited to this game. And I think this is, even though it's really late in the console's life cycle, like this is probably the last year we're going to have the PS4. This is, if if kids are getting this now, like the kids move away from Fortnite and into this, they're going to be like, that's a pretty cool place to be.
Yeah, will they build Fortnite in?
Oh yeah, how long until that?
I don't think there's any. You can do like local multiplayer. I don't think you can do online multiplayer games, but yeah.
Someone will
and
find a way.
it'll be if it's if the PS5 is indeed backwards compatible, then they've got that'll hopefully have a long life.
And what I want to see is something like I want to see. Then this is bringing up the compensation is a really good way to put it. I want to see someone make a JRPG in Dreams, a big 20 hours or more full game. But I also don't want someone to spend thousands and thousands of hours working on that without getting paid for it. Exactly, so I think if I could give someone Patreon money to do this thing and then get to see what a huge built out experience in this tool set is like. And part of me wonders if maybe somewhere in the back end they're not talking about this, but maybe somewhere there's a lever that Sony can pull to pull the thing you made out of Dreams and make it something that you could just play on its own.
Like make an executable basically.
Yeah. And I worry about that a little bit because I do believe that in the EULA, everything you make in Dreams is owned by Sony and they don't have to compensate you for it.
Probably.
So I don't know that that's a great thing, but if they played it cool and we're down the road, if people started making really wild full experiences with these tools and then Sony were to say hey, look, we want to sell this as a separate thing. We'll compensate you for it and stuff. That would be neat. I also think it's a potential. I want to start working with the tools and building short narrative things. I also think it's potentially the kind of thing where I don't have a lot of connections. So if I were to get, and not I'm saying but anyone were to get into the community and building really cool micro experiences and gain some level of recognition for that. If someone writes the Kotaku piece about your Dreams game, it could be something that could maybe give you the ability to jump to working with a studio or something like that. And that would be really cool too. If it's the sort of thing you can use as a portfolio builder.
Yeah. Andre, I know you said you haven't touched the making stuff yet, but
I've watched some videos, but
do you know if there is any way to collaborate, or if is someone who is working on a thing, are they the only person who can work on that thing until they hit the release button? Or is it possible to be this other person can work on this work in progress?
I don't know. I believe it's localized entirely to your PS4 at this time of year.
I would be shocked if they don't build collaborative tools, if they don't make it possible.
Because if you're talking about making that 1,000 hour, the 1,000 hours to make a 20-hour JRPG, if you can cut that down by having a team member, that would be great.
Yeah.
And people will, kind of the collaborative stuff is, this person made some music for me, or this person made models for me and they sent me models. And then you have this person doing coding or animation and stuff like that. So it's collaborative in that sense, but I don't know if you can have multiple people working on the same dream without remixing it and changing it, if that makes sense.
It isn't the ideal solution, but
because there are some people there are some people who only want to make models, and there are some people who just love making music in it and stuff like that. So they've already Meeting Molecules already discovered that people have found their niche and they love doing one specific thing with the tool set, and they're getting really good at it.
Kind of like the people who make the really elaborate things in Forza, the whatever, the skins.
The skins. What
are they called?
The
decals or whatever. Yeah.
I think that game is
liveries.
That game is definitely going to live and die based on the way that it's supported, and I think also the way that it's covered to some extent. Because it's. I'm not saying I think no one could ever write about it again, and it'll have a community that hums along for sure. I'm not saying it'll die if it doesn't have that, but I could see it becoming a pretty huge piece of the Sony puzzle if it takes off in a meaningful way.
Depends on what people are going to write about, because when And like when it first came out in the beta, like a lot of the stuff was like, oh man, this person recreated Dead Space or like part of Dead Space and Dreams. I'm like, yeah, but like that's not.
That stuff's impressive.
If that's all, if the recreation, it is impressive. Like as far as like what you can do with the tools.
Yeah. The
that was right when it
existing
came out,
stuff becomes very tiring very quickly when you start doing the dream surfing. That's like the least interesting stuff.
It is. It's fascinating from a wow. You can do a lot with these tools, but
yeah.
So look forward to Bong Joon-ho's Parasite 2, made entirely in dreams, powered by dreams.
That's the kind of stuff that, that's what I want is for people to make films and short games in it, and then have it say powered by dreams when you boot that thing as a separate executable.
It's it's always in the bottom right corner, like a little watermark says "Powered by Dreams." It drives me nuts.
I wonder if they will ever have like their first like celebrity collaborator to make something.
I mean, you think that's what they want to see? They want
not J.J. Abrams.
Adam Sandler's next movie, powered by dreams.
I have seen a couple of professional developers on Twitter suggest that it is a good tool if you are a professional game developer and are just like
concept.
It's a concept, and if you are having like a creative block, that it's a good thing to go in and just mess around with the tools in to kind of help you work through that. So I would be interested to see if any professional developers like make any short experiences just using it as a like lower pressure environment to work in.
I want Jack Black to make a Too Human Too Fast.
It's the only thing. It's the only development tools that Dennis Dyack could get his hands on.
Yeah, exactly.
And then somehow he gets into a lawsuit with,
and then he gets banned from the Dreams community.
Yeah. I want Jack Black to make a music game in Dreams. That would be, chef's kiss.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's who I would want.
Like the music bits in the art therapy thing are pretty good. They're just, it's very strange. I recommend it. I think it's worth checking out. It's only $40.
I didn't realize that was out. Maybe that is going to be the game I check out now.
Yeah, it's. I want to get deeper into it. I want to kind of mess with some creative stuff. I've got an idea for a thing I'd like to try and make. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but the fact that you can pull other people's creations and go, I'm not artistic. I can't draw. I can't sculpt. I can't do anything, but I could pull someone's dog and go, okay, I got a game idea. We'll see if it works.
Don't pull that dog, man.
Don't pull that dog. Things you can't make in dreams. I guess you can make things in dreams, but news for the week.
What?
Yeah, I'm trying to segue. I said you can make everything before in dreams, but now you can't. That's dreams news. I don't know. We're gonna talk about the news.
All right.
The newest happenings in the world of video games. And the first thing on our list is something. It's news of something that will not be happening. Jeff Keighley will not be producing the E3 Coliseum this year.
Yeah, and
which I guess he won't be at E3 at all, is my understanding.
Yeah, it was
first time
official hosting. Or I think he said he's not attending it in general, but it's also not that surprising to me, given that he kind of runs the main counter programming to E3 at this point.
Right. Especially
but also like Jeff Keighley is he's at everything.
Yeah.
He's the Dorito Pope. He is E3.
But what were you saying, Allison?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it does make sense if you view E3 as being an event to announce and promote games, and then you view the Game Awards as being an event to announce and promote games. I do kind of get that he might not necessarily want to. I don't think
Jeff Keighley's like. Jeff Keighley wants to announce and promote games at the thing, but I think he, in his heart of hearts, wants that to be an award show to celebrate games, but he's limited by like marketing and like he needs money to put that on, and he gets limited by that stuff. I don't think that it's I think it's ESA stuff that's causing him. I was seeing like some people saying that there was like conflict between like he says the direction of the show himself, I believe, but like the direction of the ESA and the show, he's probably like, I can't feel good about attending and being part of this because it's getting so far away from what he wanted to do, probably. Because the E3 Coliseum is where they do like a lot of like the panels and the like, you know, live streams and stuff. And if like there are more and more people not going, like, you know, there's always people you can get for those. Phil Spencer is happy to show up, sit on a couch and talk about whatever. But yeah, that is like that's I think the most shocking departure from E3 for me. I was not expecting Jeff Keighley to sit it out. But
yeah, I'm still not surprised, personally.
I mean, not surprised in the sense that E3's kind of going in the toilet, but
yeah, more that because like
that's kind of where I'm not surprised either. Is I'm not surprised that people are stopping attending E3 because that feels like the trajectory everybody's going with.
I'm surprised more people. Yeah, I'm surprised more people haven't. Like, I mean, Sony has already backed out. Nintendo's been backed out of the conferences for years. Like, I feel like we're going to see more and more people pulling out of E3 probably next year.
Probably.
Oh, I bet.
I think it's only going to get more dire for them because the ESA shows no signs of slowing down their continued descent into mediocrity and patheticness. Speaking of mediocrity, Need for Speed is apparently going to have another game. And Criterion is being moved. The franchise is being moved to Criterion. What has Criterion been making?
They made that bike game, or they've been supposed to be making that bike game, but it never came out.
Bike game?
Or what was it?
It was like all the different sports or something.
Yeah, it was like a collection
of was that Criterion? Was that not Ghost Games? Was Ghost Games who was making Need for Speed?
And Ghost Games was making Need for Speed, but I think Criterion hasn't put out anything really in the past few years.
Okay. Well, yeah. So EA is like, hey, there's more Need for Speed, and Criterion is making it.
Yep, that's fine. Criterion is good, or they were good.
They put out Burnout Paradise. Was that the last game they did?
No, they worked on another Need for Speed.
They worked on Battlefront, Most Wanted, the remake of Most Wanted, Hot Pursuit.
Yeah, Most Wanted, that's what it was. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fine. Criterion historically has been good, but like we were saying, they just haven't really made that much of their own recently. Like I think, Most Wanted in 2012 was the last one they actually worked on, and then Hot Pursuit in like 2010 was really good, but
I think there hasn't been a good Need for Speed in so long.
Also that,
like since the original Most Wanted, if you ask me. People can have their own opinions, but that was real good. So until it's out, I'm not going to get my hopes up again. I was hopeful for like the Fast and Furious looking one they just did like 2 years ago or whatever, but it was no good. So it's a bummer.
29. There's been 29 Need for Speed games.
Jesus.
That's more than Call of Duty, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Jeez.
Like I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the Need for Speed franchise, and they keep pumping those things out apparently. Jeez.
Speaking of things they keep pumping out, Final Fantasy VII Remake got a new, not really a trailer so much as just the opening cutscene of the game.
They put out a demo.
Not yet.
They put out a demo of the game. That's the demo. The opening movie is the demo.
It's a non-interactive demo.
You get to play the first, how long is it? 10
5 minutes?
5 minutes. You get to play the first 5 minutes of the game.
It's not a shot-for-shot remake of the opening of Final Fantasy VII, as it does show off the size and scope of Midgar. Right off the bat, instead of keeping it like close to the chest. But that looks like a Final Fantasy game.
Yep. It looks like 1/3 of a Final Fantasy game.
I don't know why they're like, oh, we're gonna put out the first 5 minutes. What kind of marketing is that?
I'm so curious. I wish that I would love to be a fly on the wall in the room of those of the cutscene direction team, because I saw some folks, Austin Walker for one was talking about it, getting kind of deep on the analysis of like how they choose shots and the cinematography of that opening cutscene. And I'm so curious how, obviously these are very talented professional animators and directors, so I'm not trying to denigrate their craft at all, but I'm so curious if they think about it the way that a film director would think about it, and if there is that much there, if there really is that much depth there, or if it's more like, well, we can show the environment this time and everybody already knows it, so let's just show the city. Or if it's like trying to convey some kind of deeper metaphor about the arc of the game or something. It's an interesting question.
Well, it's also a much different, like you can do so much more than what you could do in
exactly
the PS1 days. So
yeah, that's what I'm wondering, is if it's more just like, well, we can show more, so let's just make it look cool. Or if it is like, well, we need to convey the scale of the way that the scale of Midgar is the scale of the emotions of the characters or whatever. Like, I'm just bullshit. I'm just like, I don't have a better example, but I just wonder, because I saw some people sort of speculating on like the deeper meaning of the opening movie. And I just wonder if there is a deeper meaning, or if it's more just, we can show more, make it look cool, you know?
I think that sounds like bullshit to me. Like it's probably just, they made a nice big cutscene and they're like, okay, well, we want to drum up people's interest in this game that's coming out soon, because we really need our budget back, because holy shit.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that would be
5 years later, right?
5 years later, and yeah, I don't know.
Or one of 3.
It's like they've not committed to 3.
I know.
They've committed to part 1.
More than one.
Yes, more than one. It's like the establishing shots in the room.
Yes, exactly. Because that is an example of like nothing in the room. The only time that there is metaphor in the room is when Tommy Wiseau is coming to your home, knocking on the door and beating you over the head with it as you watch the movie. The majority of that movie is very literal. Yeah. And I wonder sometimes if, like, I just wonder with game development in general, because it's such a younger form than film, how much AAA developers really are trying to get at that metaphor, and how much they're just like, I don't know, fuck it. The buildings are cool looking and we can make the smoke look really good.
I think it depends on the game.
Yeah, totally.
There's certainly like, there's the Michael Bay approach, and then there's people going for the more auteur or like, more subtle approach, I guess. Yeah. More purposeful.
I guess I don't know it's so hard to find the auteurs in AAA development, and it's such a large team, and they're often so buried that it's hard to like know when that's coming.
Well, it's also interesting because you can you have so much more control over everything as a game director, I guess, or as a cutscene director and whatnot.
You can make anything happen. So when you can literally make anything happen.
You've watched those Devil May Cry 5 cutscene stuff. And
totally, yeah.
So it's like you can see, there's a lot of thought that goes into those.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm trying to make sure I'm clear. I'm not saying that this isn't a qualitative judgment so much as it is I'm interested to know where those lines are drawn, because I think that because game criticism is evolving so much, and there's certainly games that are up to that. Like, I think games like Disco Elysium and Kentucky Route Zero, like Kentucky Route Zero is a great example of a game that is, at levels of great film in terms of the way that it like creates metaphor and layers. But sometimes that criticism gets applied to things like, Final Fantasy VII remake, and I just don't know if that game is at the same is trying to do the stuff that Game Crit kind of wants it to.
It will, whether it'll do the things Game Crit needs it to do, because it's such a seminal piece of work.
And you can also always read into things, whether it's intentional or not. It's still exists.
And
So
I think the importance of it culturally makes it kind of ripe for that analysis, whether it maybe deserves it or not. But
and that's really more the thing that I'm trying to, that I think is interesting, is does it deserve it or not? And we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. I'm so curious to see what that game turns out as and how it is. I don't even, like, right now I'm not planning on buying it the day it comes out. I could see a week beforehand being like, holy fucking shit, I need to play the Final Fantasy VII remake. And
well, a week before it comes out is the most important game of the year, Resident Evil 3.
Oh yeah. I'll do the same thing I did with Resident Evil 2. I'll want to play it all year. It'll go on sale later in the year, and then I'll try to play it, and I'll get stressed out, and then
it's already been on sale, buddy. I got it pre-ordered $45. Yeah. All right. Well, next game on our list. Boy, oh boy, can you believe just one short year ago, BioWare released their newest, hottest hit, Anthem, tearing up the charts. Everybody's talking about it.
You know,
nonstop.
BioWare, the company that was extraordinarily known for lengthy RPGs with great single-player content and dialogue choices, made Anthem.
Okay, I definitely did not intend this, but I am definitely wearing my Mass Effect hoodie right now. So,
so Anthem, if you are unaware, has had a rough go of it.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Their roadmap kind of fell apart when they went, oh God, the game is not in like a good place for people. People are not enjoying it. We need to try and make it fun, because it apparently wasn't fun out the gate, and it wasn't like the flying is
fun
good.
For an hour.
The flying is, I still say the flying is real good. I liked doing that. But yeah, overall, like the gunplay and the powers weren't substantial enough to, and like the world kind of left a lot to be desired. And so just around a year after release, they have come out and said, yeah, we heard you. It's no good. After a year of sparse updates, barely, not really adhering to the roadmap, they're working on rebuilding Anthem. They're going to kind of go quiet. They've got they're going to repeat the content from the last year, popping up, and while they try and retool the game into something newer and better, I guess. Who knows what that's actually going to look like? There have been rumors about this for a while. Thoughts on this, anyone?
I don't know if that's going to be enough to pull anyone back to Anthem or pull in anyone new.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if they do something like akin to Final Fantasy 14, where they completely rehaul it and make it a really good game, I might consider picking it up. But I feel like there's so many people who are huge fans of BioWare that are just like, I don't know, this isn't interesting to me at all.
Yeah, but it's just the point I was making about them being the storied RPG narrative choice developer. It's like, yeah, I love the BioWare RPGs. Like, I even really liked Dragon Age Inquisition, which apparently has split people. But Anthem had zero appeal to me.
I straight up bought Mass Effect Andromeda at launch. That's where I was at. Like, even with all that controversy, I was like, oh well, I still want to play this, and I ended up liking that game. But Anthem, I was just like, I don't know.
Breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
I booted up Origin because I was like, I have a whole lot of thoughts that I shared in our group chat about how I think it's fucking stupid that we're even doing this with Anthem. But beyond that, because I mirror Jeff Gerstmann's thing of like, I am morbidly curious, even though I think it's dumb. I'm a little less interested in seeing what they do than he seemed to be. But I did boot up Origin to see if Anthem's $5, maybe that's worth buying just to see what happens when they do relaunch it.
Mm-hmm.
Anthem is $59.99 on Origin.
It has definitely gone on sale.
Access Premier.
Yeah, it goes on sale, and it's in Access Premier. But
I think it's just an Origin Access now. I think it's not even in Premier.
Yeah, but still, $59.99 as the base purchase price for that if you want to play it without doing Access. Holy shit.
That is a lot to ask for Anthem.
Because I suspect what they're going to do, if they actually do, I actually am not confident that they'll finish this remake thing. I think there's every possibility that they're going to just in 8 months quietly be like, we tried. and then Anthem will sail off into the sunset.
I think that'll be the end of that studio.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be the end of BioWare.
Anything they try to build after that will be.
I mean,
I don't agree, because Dragon Age is Dragon Age. There's going to be a ton of people that buy Dragon Age because it's called Dragon Age.
I'm not saying it'll be the end of BioWare. It'll be the end of that.
Totally.
That
yes. Agreed. Yes. That I agree with you on.
BioWare Edmonton, Montreal.
Well,
I don't know.
Edmonton is making Dragon Age. So.
Okay, so is that BioWare Montreal, Texas?
Probably Montreal. Austin is doing Old Republic.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah. So I agree that would be the end of BioWare Montreal, but I don't know what. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do to make Anthem, like, to fix it. Like,
I think Anthem is kind of an all hands on deck for BioWare, which didn't turn out the greatest.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah,
I think that studio will have to turn it around, and they'll have to do what they can. And like, it was very thin on a lot of like content, like as far as like end game stuff, like even cosmetics was very thin.
Yeah.
It was just, there wasn't a lot to the game, and like I don't know.
Were I a gambling man, I would bet that they will try very hard to make Anthem work. There will be a minor, much smaller than it needs to be update that's like, hey, we did these things and that's all we got for now. And then it'll just be kind of ambiguous as to what's going on with Anthem, and people will continue to not really care, and it'll just quietly go away. And Dragon Age 4 will come out, and it will be middling, and then that studio's name will become more of an imprint that EA puts on things, rather than them having all of the staff. And like,
I think it's been that way, honestly. Like, I think BioWare has been a shell of what it used to be for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
but I just mean officially, it'll stop being a staffed studio, and it'll be more like EA Studios make games, and maybe Casey Hudson is somewhere there, but EA Studios make games, and they slap the BioWare sticker on it if it's a game that is an RPG, basically.
I mean, they tried that with, what was it, like the studio that was making the new Command and Conquer? They're like, oh, this is BioWare, whatever. Who was that?
Yeah.
It was an existing studio that they slapped BioWare in front of.
Oh, yeah. They just, they do that.
Yeah, it's like branding rather than any sort of...
I don't know.
But is it even effective branding anymore now that, like, considering most people who are existing fans of BioWare know that it's not BioWare anymore?
To me, no Nintendo seal of approval.
To me, the especially damning thing is I have started to go back and look at my opinions of previous BioWare games that were universally really liked, and comparing them to other games that I really like. And I'm starting to go like,
are you one of these people who's reevaluating Mass Effect 2 and going, maybe the writing was just average?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
The story wasn't very good, but the character,
it was the dark middle chapter.
Yeah, but the characters in other games, I like characters in other games more.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe it was just, I don't know.
But you know, the world of Mass Effect is interesting and cool, and all the alien stuff.
You know how they fix this is they make Jade Empire 2.
Hell yeah.
See, I think Jade Empire is actually one of the things that stands up to scrutiny more than a lot of their other products.
I think Jade Empire is excellent.
It's a very interesting game. It's an interesting game from a gameplay and world design perspective.
100%. It's really good.
I've kind of been meaning to replay it too, to be honest. But like, even stuff like KOTOR's got some great stuff, but it's not as good as Baldur's Gate. Like, I don't know
what is.
Good point.
But
MDK2
was pretty good.
It's like there's certain
with like 4 arms, it's like 6 arms. Like he had extra arms. He was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like Dragon Age and Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 a lot. Those are two things that still hold up to me when I think about like the history of BioWare and what games I still resonate with me. Those games still do. So even though Dragon Age Origins is has an exceedingly boring story. I mean, like, it's not even a bad story. It's just like, it's the Lord of the Rings. Just,
but it's the characters that make it stand out. Like I've played Dragon Age Origins multiple times.
Yeah.
And like somebody I know is replaying it. So I'm at this point where I'm like, oh, should I replay Dragon Age Origins? It's because I'm like, I just want to hang out with my friends again.
And it's in particular, it's because of the characters. For me, it's because the characters' stories more than it is like it's Morrigan's story. Morrigan's story is so much more interesting than the main plot of Dragon Age Origins.
That's
like
a lot
what's
of games.
happening with her. It is, but it's not good, in my opinion.
That's most games.
As a trend, I don't like it. I think we could have really good core stories and really good character stories. It's possible.
We can, but
I
don't know.
If we're airing dirty laundry on stories, there's never been a good story in an Elder Scrolls game.
That's true.
That is very much about all the side quests.
Nothing in an Elder Scrolls game has ever been good.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Let's close all these Oblivion gates.
Yeah, well, that's not really story. That's just a bad gameplay segment.
That's the core story of Oblivion.
Have you played it?
Yeah, when it came out.
Oh. It's not. I mean, there is more stuff going on than let's close all the Oblivion gates. But
I am being.
So much of Elder Scrolls, what makes the stories in Elder Scrolls enjoyable is the lore that backs them up. If you don't care about it,
Cats
like
of Skyrim.
As someone who played them all leading up to it, when the Oblivion stuff was happening, I was like, holy shit, this is wild because this god is doing this. And oh my God, the Amulet of Kings. And oh shit, because I knew what all that stuff was coming in. So without that context, the plotting of those games is not very good. Morrowind has a pretty good plot.
Nerd.
Exactly.
Do you think in somewhere in, is it Tamriel? Is that the Elder Scrolls world? Do you somewhere? Do you think they have malls with kiosks where you can get like Cats of Skyrim? So it's like just a calendar with Khajiit. Like, you know how you can get those calendars in those mall kiosks of random bullshit?
Yeah, except they're like pornographic.
Oh, so it's like a calendar, a 365 like tear a page away a day of just like naked cats.
Yeah, of naked Khajiit.
Khajiit has wares if you have coin.
Exactly.
Or
exactly.
Khajiit has no wares if you have coin, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, God.
All right, well.
Anthem.
Yeah.
Speaking of games.
Yep.
We're moving on to award shows. DICE is happening. Yeah, it happened.
Or the award show.
And the game of the year was.
I didn't even look.
Some shenanigans. Hold on. So yeah, they gave out a lot of awards. DICE is the digital interactive consumer entertainment I don't know what DICE is.
It's a part of GDC.
Yeah, but it takes place in a different place, doesn't it? It does. It takes place in Vegas.
Yeah.
Anyway, so DICE awarded their game of the year in the running was, I believe these are in the running: Outer Wilds, Disco Elysium, Death Stranding, Control, and Untitled Goose Game. And the winner of DICE's game of the year, Untitled Goose Game,
which is a profoundly stupid choice in my opinion.
Yeah,
I kind of love it.
I don't understand.
It's a
Goose
fine,
Game is cute and fun.
It's a fine game. Like, I'm not going to denigrate Goose Game.
No,
it's not like the game of the year.
Like, looking at that list, I
don't understand.
I don't either.
Like, maybe it's the only one that all of the panelists that were part of it got through.
It's the only one they all played.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's well made for what it is.
Like, Outer Wilds and Disco Elysium are right there.
It's a non-violent Hitman, which Hitman is extremely good. So
yeah,
it's not as good as Hitman.
Nope.
You can't throw a can of beans.
Did Hitman win a DICE award? I don't think it did.
It should have. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I have that many thoughts other than it's a bizarre choice.
It's truly
good for Untitled Goose. I mean, it's not like I want bad things to happen to Untitled Goose Game.
No,
it's a good game.
It's really cool for the developers of that.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Congratulations to House for picking up Game of the Year at DICE. Just
yeah.
I am baffled.
Yep.
And our
Control
last
once
news,
won a bunch of awards.
don't know. We can't go down this road.
Sorry, what?
Been down it
I wasn't
before.
listening. What was
Thank
that?
God. We're just getting to our last news story.
Oh, okay.
GeForce Now launched last week or before our last episode. And since then, Blizzard and Activision pulled all their games from GeForce Now
Yeah.
and said, no, you can't play these.
Activision
And
sucks so
And
bad.
GeForce or NVIDIA was like, what? So it
Yeah.
turns out there was, I guess, some quote misunderstanding,
Sure.
according to NVIDIA. In a statement they shared, NVIDIA said, Activision Blizzard has been a fantastic partner during the GeForce Now beta, which we took to include the free trial period for our founders' membership. Recognizing the misunderstanding, we removed their games from our service with the hope we can work with them to re-enable these and more in the future. So they'll theoretically come back, but it sounds like they were only supposed to be like Blizzard and Activision was like, our games will be part of the trial. It's like the beta thing. But as soon as you have a real service, get us off of there.
Well, they probably want money, right? Like it's probably like, if you're going to stream our games, you got to give us a cut.
Which is
even though
stupid
people
'cause
already bought the games.
They bought the games. It's no impact on Blizzard or Activision. Like they have no reason to. Yeah, they probably want a cut, but they have no claim to a cut.
What better way to squeeze revenue out of a thing than by making someone pay for something that doesn't actually cost you anything to produce at this point, because you've already spent the money.
Yeah,
you know,
weird.
like it's bullshit and
stupid as hell.
It's so wild because like they're riding on like probably the best monetized Call of Duty game that they've ever made, and still doing, and like it's like working. I saw some reports that like they're making way more off of the model that they have for Modern Warfare than they have from like season pass, like map pack stuff in the past. And yet like they can't look at that example and say like, maybe we should just be better about the way that we do things and be more consumer friendly. And instead it's like, actually fuck consumers.
I mean, you could say that about most companies. It's like, maybe we should be consumer friendly. Nah.
Yeah.
I feel like though, if you look at somebody like Ubisoft, they like actually learn from the things that work, you know, whereas Activision's just like, we're going to suck forever no matter what.
That's also not new. That's how they killed Tony Hawk series and Guitar Hero and all those other ones. But like the thing I've also heard, which seems somewhat plausible, is the fact that like a lot of Activision stuff is moving over to Google Cloud in terms of just like their infrastructure. Like they're hosting all of their servers there. They're like, they're just moving over to Google Cloud. And maybe people are saying like, oh, they're getting in bed with Google, so maybe a lot of Stadia stuff will happen. And then like Google's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be on GeForce Now.
This story I'm reading with comment from it just says the company opted to remove their games in anticipation of a commercial agreement with NVIDIA. So it sounds like they just want they want a cut of the pie.
If I were NVIDIA, I would be like, good day to you.
Yeah.
Just to say like, fuck off.
We've got a lot. We have more games than the other services.
We'll be fine
right now.
People can play like their whole Steam library eventually, in theory, at some point.
Yeah.
So
like,
whatever.
I'm still not sure why you can't just play anything you own, but whatever.
I'm not sure either, because I was able to make that work, but
yeah,
it seems like they've kind of patched out the way I was able to do that. So I don't know, like let's say we make a game, release it, it goes through a publisher. Do you have to pay a licensing fee to Microsoft if you're on the Windows platform? Because like this is basically a platform, right? Like it's more so than like, it's not its own game store. It's leveraging existing game stores. So
like if you're on Steam, do you have to give Microsoft a cut?
Exactly.
Because you're running on Windows
or Mac OS, like Apple.
Apple, I think you do if you're making your product available through the App Store, but I don't know that you do if you're making your product through Steam.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like so like why would they want to have to pay NVIDIA?
I think a better example, frankly, is I shouldn't say a better example, a different example, because that example is yes, but a different example is there's tons of virtual desktop software out there where you can access your desktop, and you could launch anything on your desktop when you use that software. Is the answer that, because like I could go buy virtual desktop software and play Modern Warfare with it right now.
It would not be good.
No,
The
it wouldn't be
latency
good.
on that stuff is not.
No, of course. But it is, it's dumb to me that since GeForce Now is essentially doing the same thing, like I get it if they're using specific games in their marketing, it is a little weird to say like play games like Modern Warfare in an email when you're not like, there's not some kind of agreement and partnership going on.
Yeah.
But if you're just saying like play your games through our service, I don't know. It's dumb.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
It's if the whole idea behind GeForce Now is play your games that you own, why can Blizzard just go, no, you can't play these games?
And it's like, fine if it's like they don't want it in the GeForce Now interface. Like I think it's fine for any developer to be like, if you're going to put us in your like little storefront interface thing where you can just tab through games and pick one, that's one thing to say like, well, you're placing our box art on your storefront basically. And that's not a storefront even, but you're putting your box art on your digital shelf or whatever. But if it's like Steam or something which is where it seems like they want to go, where it's like, here's everything you have installed, just play something. That seems if they're like just giving you a virtual desktop that's low latency with games in mind, then just everything should be available. So I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks, Activision Blizzard. Shout outs to Bobby Kotick and J. Allen Brack. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Space Ghost is a hell of a show.
Titans of the industry.
Thankfully, they do not have Titanfall. Yeah. But we'd never see it then. But now with that, we can move on to some Twitter questions.
Which you guys missed last week, apparently.
I did a goof. You weren't here to keep us in line, Alex.
As we were signing off, I was like, "Oh, we didn't do questions," and I was like, "I don't want to do questions at this point, frankly."
We're already running a little long, but we owe it to our dedicated listeners to deliver on these questions. So first, with the old missed question, Super GG Radio on Twitter asks, favorite fishing mechanic in a game? Go.
Ooh, oh God.
I would say the Fire Emblem Three Houses one was approachable and boring, but it worked, which is what you need for fishing.
Sega Bass Fishing with the controller.
Yeah, that's my answer as well. Controller.
Sega Bass .fishing.
I know this might be controversial, but I do like the fishing in Stardew Valley.
Yeah,
I like.
It's fine. Yeah.
I remember. I don't know if I like it. I remember the fishing at the start of Twilight Princess was like you have to do some fishing as like part of the tutorial, and it's like real iffy. Like I had trouble with it. I remember getting stuck because of the fishing.
The fishing in Nier Automata, not original Nier, but in Automata is inconsequential. You push one button, so that one's
it's not good. A JRPG without it.
Yep.
And it doesn't don't you do like the fishing from the drone kind of like that's where the pole comes out of or whatever? The line casts out of the drone.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I've been recently considering Fishing Sim World Pro Tour is on Xbox Game Pass.
Of course you are.
But from what I've seen, that's not the thing you want is Dovetail Games Euro Fishing. But even that has mixed reviews right now. So I don't know. I am looking for a fishing simulator, but seems like there's not a clear front runner right now. Since Fishing Sim Pro World Tour or whatever the fuck it's called. Is on Game Pass. I might just install that.
Did you ever play what was it called? Wii Fishing Resort?
No, I only play simulators. I don't play like that's for children.
Oh,
Sorry. So Bass Hunter 64 was your jam.
Real lucky that I didn't go do a deep dive on Train Sim World.
Deep dive.
Because I have been playing some Train Sim World that I could have talked about.
Of course you have.
Come to Japan, we can go to the arcade and you can play in the arcade train simulators.
Oh, that sounds great. Sadly, Train Sim World doesn't work with Rail Driver, which is the peripheral attachment that you can purchase that gives you full train controls. But I don't know.
Do you do gestures while you're checking? All the Japanese train drivers like gesture every time they do something.
That's so good.
So because apparently it helps them remember, okay, I'm checking the time and I point forward and I point up and I do a thing. I pull a lever.
I would love to drive trains so much for a living if it was a good living. Unfortunately, here it's not really, but
sounds like it sucks. All right. Well, next question from Alex Arona from Super GG Radio, aka Slander and Libel. I always think it's Slander Nibble, but it's Slander and Libel.
Slandered nipples.
Wow. What long lost JRPG needs a remake? Some of the best ones are from the SNES and PS1 days. Second question, what makes an anime fighter? Is it dashes and super jumps or strictly anime?
Okay, so first question, what long lost JRPG needs a remake?
Legend of Dragoon.
They're all bad.
Legend of Dragoon.
Actually, Legend of Dragoon's all right.
I can't really think.
Or Final Fantasy VIII. I want a
Final
big
Fantasy
budget
8,
Final Fantasy VIII remake.
Final Fantasy VIII's good,
Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII's pretty good.
but it's not
right.
it's not long lost nor forgotten.
No.
yeah. See, that's the thing is that long lost forgotten. I feel
Parasite Eve. Is that a PS?
Hell yeah. Parasite is
Parasite.
awesome.
I never played it. I just know the
Fuck
name.
yeah. It's a
Good
bad
name.
game, but it's such a cool idea.
Dark Cloud.
I really like JRPGs, so I'd be I'm still in my JRPG, still going strong with that. So I'd be interested to see if anybody could bring back some older series and
I would
Yeah.
be
Chrono
interested.
Cross.
How about Legend of Legaia? I don't know if any of you
No
guys
idea
played
what that is.
I know what it is,
interesting.
but I haven't played
I
it.
know
Half
of
these
it,
games, I'm
but
just
I
saying a
haven't played it.
name. I don't know anything about the game.
Sudoku. Suikoden 2. Not Sudoku. Sudoku's not a JRPG. Suikoden 2.
A JRPG where the battles are Sudoku.
I think so. I was kind of kidding when I said they're all bad. Obviously, I don't think they're all bad, but I think that I don't want more remakes. You can if the game's readily available.
Reimagining.
See, that's the thing though, is I have a ton of ports I want, though they're not necessarily they're not
easy to play. You can't get to them.
Right. Well, and it's also they're not unknown. So if you guys have been listening to this, I love the Mario RPG. So Paper Mario to port to Switch, that's
Totally.
what I want. But I don't necessarily need it to be remade.
All games should be playable on everything, and I don't mean that in a jerk way. I'm serious.
I agree. But also port Tales of Symphonia to Switch. But I still think a lot of the thing about a lot of RPGs in particular is a lot of them really do hold up, I think.
That's kind of my point.
So make them more playable because I do think that a lot of RPGs that's a genre that has generally held up pretty well. So if you could port everything, then
You were like,
do it.
Yoko Taro is remaking Final Fantasy VIII. I would be like, God damn it. I want to see what Yoko Taro makes out, what his new thing is. I don't want to see him remake Final Fantasy VIII. I want to see him make something else.
But I do think that it's great
I
that
want Yoko Taro's Final Fantasy VIII now.
I want to see Yoko Taro's anything.
Made in Dreams, powered by dreams.
Sorry, what were you saying, Alison?
I just think that I do think that they I'm just really happy that they have the collection of Mana, the Grandia collection. So if they kept doing that with kind of older stuff, like a Suikoden collection. I've never played Suikoden, but I've always heard about it. I think that would be ideal to
Suikoden is super cool.
Do ports like that or do collections like that of RPGs.
Yeah. Or maybe even if they did like some kind of sequel to something really old, like
Legend of Dragoon 2,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 8 2.
Illusion of Gaia 2 or something. I don't know. That'd be fun.
Oh man, I
what
would
was the
kill
second
for
half?
Final Fantasy 8 2.
What makes an anime fighter?
Is it dashes and super jumps or strictly anime?
I think it's anime.
I think it's the pace. Like anime fighters are so fucking fast.
Yeah.
But
I would agree. It's a speed like a Blaze Blue or like a Dragon Ball Fighters.
It definitely is about the pace, but well, I guess I don't know because like I haven't mentioned this on the cast, but in the last week I now Grand Blue Fantasy Versus for some reason has become one of my most anticipated games of the year, which is dumb. But I'm very excited about it after hearing more about it. That game actually doesn't. I mean, it moves fast compared to other video games, but it doesn't move as fast as like Guilty Gear or Dragon Ball. It's actually like much more like there's a lot of footsies and stuff in it. So I don't know if it's necessarily, and I would call that game an anime fighter, but I don't, I almost think it's
made by Arc, isn't it?
Yeah. I almost think it's the complexity of the characters more than anything. Like
not Roman cancels and V cancels.
Yeah, not that there's not a lot of depth and stuff like NetherRealm games and Street Fighter and stuff like that. But in anime fighters, the characters are like, this is this character's gimmick, basically. Like the characters all seem to have like gimmicks to some extent. But I guess maybe that's less true of Dragon Ball Z. So I don't know. Maybe that's off as well.
Those characters have. I feel like every fighting game character has a gimmick.
Yeah, but I guess when you play Mortal Kombat, it doesn't feel as. Some of them have gimmicks, but a lot of them.
Scorpion's got a thing that comes out of his hand.
But
Sub-Zero's the ice guy. Liu Kang does the bicycle kick.
But in practice,
Stryker has a gun.
In practice,
Raiden flies like Superman.
I don't know. There's something about like this character. This character does charge attacks, and this character is area control and stuff. That feels like something that's more. Whereas in Mortal Kombat, like yes, there's a gimmick of Frost stuff, but Sub-Zero has like area control moves, punish moves, initiation moves. Like they're all the characters are a little more well-rounded in the way that you play them. Whereas with anime fighters, it feels like the characters are designed to be played in specific ways. But I don't know. I'm also a noob to all this stuff. So this is like an outside perspective from what I've been like gathering, learning about the genre.
Is Dive Kick an anime fighter?
No.
I also think it's pretty easy to tell. I don't know what the unwritten rule is, but nobody makes anime fighters that aren't anime fighters. Like nobody makes fighting games with anime art that aren't also fighting like anime fighters in terms of like mechanics.
Well, they're all made by ArcSys.
Well, yes, that's part of it. But like even that Under Night, whatever it's called,
Night, In Birth EX.
Yeah, like that's an anime
Baby
fighter
Mama.
not made by ArcSys. And
Do people consider like MVC to be anime fighter?
Yeah, some people do. I would say it's in that same wheelhouse.
And that's not all anime aesthetic because it's obviously drawing from a lot of different art styles. So
yeah,
I for my money, it's like a fast pace. Fast pace, like dashes and like air dashes,
because
and like super jumps. Not
GBFV does not have air dashes.
No, it doesn't. So not an anime fighter. It's a fighter with anime, but not an anime with fighter.
Yeah, it's also how you're inputting like combos and stuff like that. Like if you think about your Street Fighters, it's very based on the movement of your stick and like putting in the right inputs, and same with like MK and to an extent Tekken and stuff like that. And again, pacing, those are all slower.
That's true. That's a good point.
Then you get into like how you do combos in anime fighters, which is kind of like jamming on stuff in specific sequence and like kind of rhythm, it's almost rhythm based in a way.
Yeah,
and that part is true about Grand Blue.
Touch of Death combos.
There's no touch of deaths, but it does, like, it has the special moves are all like Street Fighter motions, but the combos are very much sequence based and like timing based. So
Anime fighters are good.
I want to get into anime fighters. They're so hard. I'm really hoping
really
this Grand
hard.
Blue game is like a good entry point, and it seems like it might be.
Is Kill la Kill If an anime fighter?
I think it has to be 2D.
I don't think it has to be 2D, but like it's
Has to be
weird.
good.
It's there's that, but also in some ways that feels more like a Dynasty Warriors game to me. Like I don't know
because
why.
because they have a lot of wave based, like you're fighting a bunch of like generic opponents.
Yeah.
So there we go. Kill la Kill If is a Muso game. Speaking of Muso games, apparently the first review of Persona 5 Scramble came out, and it's apparently positive. So
I heard some people saying it's real good who played some of the Japanese version.
Nice.
well, if you want your question read on the podcast,
What about a Persona 1 remake?
or two.
I think that game holds up. I think you could go play Persona 1 right now and have a good time.
I've never.
I don't know how to
I never
do it.
have. Yeah.
It's on PSP and Vita.
I do
think you could
have
probably
a
play it
PSP.
You could play it on PS4, I think, too, because it's just a PS1 classic on the store.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
It's good. It's a good game. People, if
Well,
you're
if
curious about the origins of Persona, you should play Persona 1.
if you want to have your question read on the air and answered, you can tweet at us at Fix Podcasts, or if you just want to engage with us in any way on Twitter at Fix Podcasts, you can find me, aka your girl's favorite award show, at Coolslaw COOLSL4W.
That's a lie.
Oh yeah. Go ask her. Go wake her up. Ask her.
What's your favorite award show?
What's your favorite award show?
Her answer would be, I fucking hate award shows.
So it's Andre.
Yeah.
No, I think that
Same.
must mean maybe she hates you.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. Alex, where can people find you?
I'm a millennial.
It's Allison.
checks
Where can
out.
people find you?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY, and I'm also a millennial.
Yep.
Pat, where can people find
You
you?
can find me at PJC Plays. Interestingly, only one person on the cast lied in this outro segment.
You can only ask 3 questions to discover who it is. All right, that is going to do it for episode 108 of Gaming Fix on February 15th, 2020. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week to talk about more games. Probably no movies. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about Birds of Prey.
I'm going to watch some movies. I'm going to try to read a book too.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Maybe not a whole book, but some of a book. I'm a slow reader, okay?
Look forward to Parasite 2 from Bong Joon-ho, powered by Dreams.
Well, they're also
Yeah.
doing an HBO series, so
I'm
there
looking
really is
forward
more
to-
Parasite
Really? Oh.
happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bong he's directing it,
Oh,
and like
but-
he's super excited about it because there's stories that happen around the periphery of Parasite
Sure.
that he couldn't tell in the movie. So yeah.
So
I'm sure.
Parasite 2 on HBO, soundtrack by Periphery. All right.
Oh,
right.
if only.
Oh boy. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a fun time.
Yeah,
Yep.
I need someone to clap with me at the end.
Okay. Bye. Oh,
Bye.
we'll clap for
I mean, like on.
Yay!
Oh,
Huzzah!
Otherwise, it's going to be a pain to put my audio in.
Okay. Bye.
bye-bye.